Chapter 60. In the room, Ajur and Pierre were looking for clues. However, the room had been searched more than once, and all the useful clues had been taken away by the people from the arbitration tribunal. After working for a while, they did not find anything useful. Just as Ajur and Pierre were about to go to Clara's room to take a look, Fengwu pushed the door open and came in. "Xiaowu, you're back." He was not dissatisfied that Fengwu did not stay to help. Ajur was very confident in his own strength. He could find clues and complete the mission alone. The expressionless Fengwu girl first looked at Ajur with a pair of pure eyes, then said, "On the day Madame Arlene died, someone came here. It was a guy wearing a woman's skin." What did that mean? Pierre and Ajur felt that 3 big check marks had appeared above their heads. Fortunately, Ajur's IQ had never been his weakness. "You mean, the one who killed Madame Arlene was not a human, but a creature who lived in the human world and wore a human skin?" Fortunately, this was the world of MCMAU. Anything could happen. There were a few demons who did evil in human skin, so Ajur could understand Fengwu's meaning so easily. Although Fengwu heard the words of the great banyan tree, she did not understand what it meant. How could she explain it? Fortunately, Ajur understood it himself. Ajur was so smart that he could even think of something like this. She didn't even understand what he was saying. The girl's big black eyes flashed with a trace of worship, which made Ajur feel very happy. He had said that he was the smartest. Pierre was originally confused, but after Ajur's explanation, he understood, but there were still some things he could not figure out, such as, "Miss Fengwu, how did you know this?" Even the arbitration tribunal could not find out, so how did the girl in front of him know? It was too strange. Fengwu bit her lip and didn't say anything. She lowered her head, revealing her dark head. This reaction made Pierre want to shout, "What the F***CK? Girl, I didn't bully you. Can't you see the look in the eyes of your little boyfriend next to you? He's about to eat him up." Fengwu lowered her head. She didn't know whether she should say it or not. Her master had said that she couldn't tell anyone that she could hear the little things. Otherwise, she would be in danger. The little girl didn't know what to do. She could only lower her head and remain silent. Just as she was feeling vexed, she felt a warm and big hand caressing her head, just like how her master would caress her head. Fengwu looked up and saw Ajur smiling brighter than the sun. "You don't have to say anything. If Xiaowu doesn't want to say anything, then don't say anything." Ajur was acting like a gentle big brother right now, which was completely different from his usual arrogant self. Fengwu felt warm in her heart, but she was also not used to it. She revealed a shy smile. Ajur couldn't help rubbing her little head again. How could she be so cute? "Don't be sad. If you don't want to say it, I won't ask." Pierre was a little embarrassed. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have asked. Look at how he had attracted the little girl. "I'm not sad." Fengwu had always been a very strong child. She always listened to her master and never cried. Her master had said that crying was the behavior of the weak. The strong people didn't cry. Fengwu had always wanted to be as strong as her master, so she never cried. People would only cry when they were sad. Therefore, Fengwu was never sad. She was a strong person who would never cry. "Well, I'm not sad." Pierre didn't argue with her. If she wasn't sad, then she wasn't sad. "Let's go. Let's get out of here first. There's finally some progress in the case." Ajur held Fengwu's little hand and asked Pierre to leave together. The 3 of them left the small villa that was sealed off, their hearts full of doubts. Back at the small hotel, Pierre arranged a room for the 2 of them. Ram also thoughtfully prepared a lot of delicious food for the 3 of them. "Ram, there seems to be more people coming to stay in the hotel recently." As the owner of the hotel, Pierre naturally knew how the business of the hotel was. Recently, the number of people coming to stay in the hotel had suddenly increased. Even the other hotels were full, which was very unusual. "Yes, they should all be here for the sacred beast egg," Ram said indifferently, his hands not stopping at all as he placed the cutlery. "A lot of people have come to Frost City recently?" Because there weren't many people on the street, Ajur didn't know about this. Yes, a lot of people have come. Although I don't know what they are here for, there have been a lot of people in the past 2 days. Adventurers from many countries have come. Pierre had been wondering about this for a long time. He thought that Ajur would know something, but he didn't expect that this guy also didn't know anything. Fengwu lowered her head and ate. Ram's bone soup was very delicious, and the food was also very delicious. Fengwu showed a happy expression as she ate. Ajur only took a glance at Fengwu and knew that Fengwu liked these dishes very much. Although there was no expression on her little face, he could see the good luck and happiness in it. "Boss, make some food and bring a large cup of ale over." A tall man came down from the guest room upstairs. The man carried a big sword on his back and was dressed in ordinary clothes. He didn't look like a rich man. "Okay, I'll prepare it for you right away," Pierre immediately responded with a smile. Ram went to the kitchen to prepare the food. Because the business of the small hotel wasn't very good, Ram and Pierre were usually very busy, so they didn't ask anyone to help them. It was just that the number of people staying in the inn had suddenly increased in the past 2 days. The business of the inn, which was originally not very good, had suddenly improved. Even the guest rooms, which had never been half full before, were now more than half full. Ram went to work. As the boss, Pierre naturally couldn't ignore the business of the hotel. He always had to leave someone to look after the hotel, so Pierre didn't eat with Fengwu and the others. Instead, he stood behind the counter alone. More and more customers came downstairs to eat. Fortunately, Ram was fast enough, and they didn't have to wait too long to prepare the food that the customers wanted to eat. After working for more than an hour, it was time for dinner. When Pierre finished his work, Fengwu and the others had already eaten and drunk. Not only that, Ajur also asked the customers in the hotel about the purpose of so many people coming to Frost City. Fortunately, this was not a secret, and it was easy to find out. At this moment, in Pierre's study, Ajur was telling Fengwu and Pierre what he had heard. It turned out that a mysterious light had suddenly appeared in the area of Frost City recently. Some people suspected that an ancient mage's tomb had appeared. That was why so many adventurers had come. These people all wanted to find the treasure left behind by the ancient mage. Chapter 61. The Tomb of the Ancient Magician? Pierre was shocked when he heard the news. He never thought that this would be the reason for so many adventurers to gather here. Interesting. First, the sacred beast egg fell nearby. Now, even the tomb of the ancient magician has appeared. 2 major events happened in Frost City at the same time. I don't believe it's a coincidence. Pierre nodded. It was true. Frost City was just a small border city. It was too much of a coincidence for 2 major events to happen in such a small city. Whether someone deliberately designed it or it's really a coincidence, it has nothing to do with us. What we have to do is to find the murderer as soon as possible to prove Clara's innocence and rescue her. Although the tomb of the ancient magician was really tempting, Clara's life was more important to Pierre. Everything else was trash in his eyes. Ajur nodded and did not speak, but he also agreed with Pierre. He did not forget that he was here for a mission. Let's get back to the main topic. The clues that Xiao Wu found in Madame Marin's villa this afternoon have finally given us a direction to investigate. The news that Fengwu brought was very useful. Ajur already had a plan in mind to rescue Clara. The news that Miss Fengwu inquired did not indicate who the murderer was. She only knew that it was a guy in a woman's skin. She didn't even know the person's true identity. I suspect that it might be Madame Tussaud. Apart from the new president and Madame Tussaud, who else could have a grudge against Madame Marin? When Clara was locked up in the arbitration tribunal, Wanda could not wait to marry Madame Tussaud. Now that his wife was dead and his daughter was in trouble, he still had the mood to marry a wife. This made Pierre, who only had some resentment towards Wanda, feel that his character was very shameful. Madame Tussaud? She became a madam so soon. Ajur curled his lips disdainfully. He really did not have a good impression of Wanda, who did not even care about his wife and daughter. Pierre sighed helplessly. He did not know how to evaluate Wanda. Before meeting Madame Tussaud, he was a very good man, but since Madame Tussaud came, he had become a scumbag. How could men be so fickle? Pierre began to doubt human nature. What kind of person is that Madame Tussaud? I've only seen Madame Tussaud twice. The impression she gives others is that she's a gentle woman. However, her heart is definitely not as gentle and demure as she appears to be. How could a truly gentle and kind woman steal someone else's husband? Is there a way to meet Madame Tussaud? Sure. 2 days later is the birthday banquet of the city lord's daughter. At that time, all the slightly famous people in the city will attend. I will also go. You and Miss Fengwu can come with me. Fengwu stood silently at the side and listened. Unlike other girls who tried to make their presence known, she just stood there quietly. If a juror didn't know that this girl was listening to them, he would have thought that she was in a daze. After discussing the operation 2 days later, the three of them returned to their rooms to rest. After returning to the room, Fengwu released Little Baozi and Little White. Little White was already unhappy after being locked up for an entire day. When he came out, he burst out in tears. He angrily made his presence known for a whole quarter of an hour. In the end, Fengwu hugged him and coaxed him for a long time before Little Baozi stopped crying. Little Baozi, who cried until he hiccuped, "Mommy is too bad, always locking me up, bad, bad." After coaxing Little Baozi, Little White carried Little Baozi and walked around the room to coax him. Fengwu looked at her own mission in the room. Other than a juror, she also had a mission. It was a mission to eliminate evil. Fengwu planned to go for this mission tomorrow. She already understood the mission's content. It was to find the bad guys who kidnapped those girls, kill them, and then save those girls. After studying the mission, Fengwu took a hot bath and had a good sleep. The next morning, Fengwu got up very early. Little White carried Little Baozi and followed Fengwu downstairs. After what happened yesterday, Little Baozi would rather die than go into the interspatial ring. If she let him in, he would cry until he died. Fengwu had no choice but to go downstairs with Little White and Little Baozi. Seeing Fengwu suddenly go downstairs with a nanny beast and Little Baozi, Lamu and Pierre were startled. After asking about Little Baozi's identity, Lamu and Pierre came back to their senses after a long time. How could such a young child be a mother? What was wrong with this world? Of course, no one answered his question. Because they had to wait for the banquet 2 days later, Fengwu and a juror decided to go and complete Fengwu's mission first. Fengwu's mission seemed to be simple, but wasn't it just fighting? It was much easier than using one's brain, and it didn't take much time. Because Fengwu and a juror were going to do the mission, it was naturally inconvenient to take Little Baozi with them. Little Baozi and Little White were left in the shop under the care of Pierre and Lamu. North of Frost City, there was a small village with thousands of people. The villagers in the village made a living by growing snow crystal fruit. Snow crystal fruit was a specialty of the Ice-Chio Kingdom, and it only grew in the Ice-Chio Kingdom. Snow crystal fruit was not eaten directly, but it was used to make grain wine. Wine merchants from other countries often came to Frost City to buy snow crystal fruit. The sales of snow crystal fruit were very good, and the villagers lived a good life. Even if they were not very rich, there were no problems with their lives. However, some time ago, their lives fell from heaven to hell. There were constantly young girls going missing in the village. The village chief arranged for many young and powerful men to patrol the village, but the young girls were still going missing. This made the village chief so anxious that his hair almost turned white. The village had no choice but to pool 200 gold coins to hire a powerful adventurer to catch the evil murderer. When Fengwu and a juror arrived at the small village, their arrival immediately attracted the attention of the villagers. Because of the disappearance of the girls, the villagers were very resistant to outsiders. Once outsiders entered the village, they would immediately be alerted. "Who are you? What do you want to do in our village?" The person who asked was a woman. The woman's eyes were full of vigilance. It was obvious that she was very resistant to outsiders. The surrounding villagers did not look good either. A few of them had already taken out their weapons. Because of the continuous disappearance of the girls, the villagers had long been on guard. We are adventurers. Your village issued a mission in the Adventurers Guild, right? We accepted this mission and came here. Ajur was used to pretending in front of outsiders, and this time, he was quite good at it. He was simply a cultured and elegant young man. Chapter 62. You've accepted a mission. The woman exclaimed in disbelief. How could this be? Such a small child actually accepted our mission. What can such a small child do? That's right. I thought it would be a powerful swordsman who accepted our village's mission. What should we do now? 2 young children came. What can they do? Let them go back. Not only did they fail to save others, but they also brought harm to these 2 children. The surrounding villagers discussed loudly. They thought they would be the hope of saving the village and would be powerful adventurers. They didn't expect it to be 2 young children. The difference was too big, and the villagers couldn't accept it. The village chief is here. The village chief is here. There were children calling out from behind the adults. The adults all moved aside to let the village chief come over. After the crowd made way, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Fengwu and Ajur. The old man looked very thin and weak. He wore a loose white robe and held a black wooden cane in his hand. He looked like a respectable elder. 2 young people, welcome to our village. Come to my house and have a seat. The old village chief didn't say anything unpleasant to the 2. Instead, he led them into the village chief's house. The village chief's house was bigger than the other villagers' houses. It seemed to be of a higher class. They followed the village chief into the house. The village chief's wife had passed away long ago. Now, the village chief's 2 daughters-in-law were taking care of the family. After bringing the 2 into the house, the village chief asked the 2 daughters-in-law to prepare lunch. The 2 daughters-in-law obediently went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. As for the village chief's 2 sons, they didn't seem to be at home. Hello, adventurers. I'm the village chief of this village. My name is Brew. The village chief's eyes were filled with deep sorrow. It was obvious that this kind old man was very busy because of the disappearance of the young girl. Hello, village chief. I am a D-rank adventurer from the Adventurers Guild. This is my friend and the person who accepted this mission. Her name is Fengwu. Since Fengwu was not good at socializing, Ajur was usually the one doing the diplomatic work. He was also used to speaking on behalf of Fengwu. After the old man introduced himself, Ajur naturally explained the situation between Fengwu and himself. When the old village head heard that Fengwu was the one who accepted this mission, his expression stiffened. It seemed that he did not expect that such a delicate little girl would accept such a dangerous mission. Adventurers, what happened in our village is very unusual. You are still young. I'm afraid you can't deal with that demon. The old village chief, like the rest of the villagers, also felt that they were too young. How could such young children accomplish the tasks of their village? However, the village chief was a person who had been a village chief for many years. His words were more tactful, unlike the villagers outside who spoke harshly. Village chief, do you not believe us? Ajur suddenly laughed. His laughter was wanton and arrogant. Seeing the sudden change in the young man's temperament, village chief Brew did not know how to react. He was clearly such a gentle young man just a moment ago. How did he become so arrogant now? You are too young. This was what the village chief wanted to say the most, but he could not say it out loud. He did not want to hurt the young children's hearts. I will complete this mission. Fengwu looked at the old village chief seriously. She spoke very seriously. Facing the young girl's sincere gaze, the old village chief could not bear to refuse. Very dangerous little girl. The village chief persuaded the young girl in front of him to change her mind. I am very powerful. Fengwu looked at the village chief stubbornly and said, This. The village chief wanted to persuade him, but was interrupted by Ajur. Don't worry, village chief. Fengwu and I are not ordinary adventurers. We will definitely help your village. Ajur said, not allowing for rejection. The old village head saw that no matter how he persuaded the two young people in front of him, they still insisted on doing this mission. Forget it, he would not persuade them any more. At most, he would send some more young men in the village to help them. They could not do this mission without doing it. If something happened to such a young child, it would be a pity. The old village chief's heart was good. Although Feng Wu and Ajur did not listen to his advice, the old village chief was only a little helpless. He did not feel that the two of them did not know what was good for them. The village chief's two wives were not bad at cooking. Although they could not compare to Lamu, Lamu was originally a cook, so it was only right that his cooking skills were better. While they were eating, the village chief's two sons returned. The two of them looked to be in their 40s and were still holding farming tools in their hands. It was obvious that they had just returned from the fields. The village chief also had 3 grandchildren and 2 granddaughters. Ever since something happened in the village chief had sent all the children to his 2 wives' homes. It was safer to leave the village. The village chief's son and wife also doubted Feng Wu and Ajur's strength. Fortunately, their family was well educated and did not casually say anything to offend others. After eating, Feng Wu asked to go around the village to take a look. Ajur naturally went with them, and the village chief sent a clever little family to follow them all the way. The child who led the way was at most 10 years old. He was a rather cute little boy. The little boy was very curious about Feng Wu and Ajur, but he didn't ask anything. No wonder the village head asked him to lead the way. This child was indeed very sensible. There were many ice crystal fruit trees planted in the village. Other than the ice crystal fruit, the village also planted a kind of fruit that grew in winter. This kind of fruit was the main dish on every family's table. It was very delicious and filled with hunger. There were also many trees planted in the village. These trees were all bare without any leaves, making them look even more bleak. There were also some flowers that were commonly seen in the ice season blooming on the snow. These flowers were not expensive, but they were also fragrant. Feng Wu and Ajur followed the child around the village. Ajur and the child leading the way would occasionally see Feng Wu walk over and caress the bare trees, then walk a distance and touch another tree. Ajur did not understand what Feng Wu was doing, and the child naturally did not understand either. In short, Feng Wu kept touching the trees and occasionally touched the flowers. After circling around the village, she returned to the village chief's house. The village head didn't have much hope in the first place, so he didn't ask about the investigation when Feng Wu and the others came back. If they could find out who the kidnappers were by simply walking around the village, they would have found the culprit long ago. They wouldn't have had to spend so much money to hire someone from the Adventurers Guild. That person is very strange. The girls who were taken away were all brought into the mountains. Feng Wu suddenly said. The old village chief stared with his eyes wide open. Bring them into the mountains. This is impossible. There are ice and snow bears living in the mountains, and no one can go deep into the forest. We have already searched the periphery, but we did not find anything. Deeper inside, Jalal. Let's go into the mountains together. Feng Wu bit her lips. The village chief did not believe her, so Feng Wu naturally felt it. She wanted to find the missing girls to prove that she was not lying. Chapter 63. Feng Wu's stubborn gaze made it impossible for Ajur to refuse. Plus, he'd never thought of refusing the young girl's request in the first place. No, you can't go. It's too dangerous. Those snow bears are the overlords of the mountains. The old village chief said agitatedly, desperately trying to change the two young people's minds. Don't worry, village chief, we'll be fine. Ajur smiled carelessly, his expression full of confidence. Although Feng Wu didn't say anything, her serious gaze said everything. Unable to stop Feng Wu and Ajur, the village chief could only watch as the two young people went into the mountains to their deaths. Yes, in the village chief's eyes, these two young people who didn't listen to his advice were already dead people with one foot in the grave. No one had ever come back alive from the depths of the mountains. Not only did the village chief not believe it, but even the villagers who heard of this didn't believe that the two young people could walk out of the mountains alive. Feng Wu and Ajur entered the large snowy mountain beside the village amidst the villagers' voices of pity and dissuasion. The mountain was covered in a white glow. Apart from a few tenacious trees and wild flowers and grass, most of the trees were bare. Only a few loose leaves still hung on the tree branches. A strong gust of wind would cause the already shaky leaves to immediately fall from the tree branches. The magical beasts that lived in the Icefall Kingdom were all ice-type magical beasts, such as the extreme ice bird, snow bear, ice tiger, ice leopard, and so on. This mountain was the snow bear's territory. Of course, the snow bear wasn't the only magical beast on this mountain. There were many other magical beasts that could adapt to the cold weather, but they weren't as strong as the snow bear, which was a natural ice-type magical beast. Feng Wu walked in front to lead the way while Ajur followed behind. Feng Wu reached out to touch the tree branches from time to time and then walked in a certain direction after confirming the direction. Ajur's IQ wasn't low to begin with. When he saw Feng Wu's actions, he naturally guessed that Feng Wu might have some kind of innate ability that allowed her to communicate with these plants. Xiao Wu, can you hear these plants talk? Although Ajur was asking a question, he didn't seem to have any doubts about it. Feng Wu lowered her head, leaving Ajur with a black crown. If Ajur knew, would he think that she was a monster? Would he hate her? Feng Wu was a little flustered. Ajur was her good friend. She didn't want Ajur to hate her. Ajur rudely flicked Feng Wu's head. Feng Wu raised her head in pain, her small face full of complaints. What are you thinking? It's not a bad thing to be able to understand the language of plants. In this world, people with this kind of ability are all favored by heaven and earth. Many people can't even imagine it. Ajur really wanted to know which family this little girl came from. She clearly had such a good innate ability, but she was so careful to hide it. Could it be that her family didn't tell her about the rarity and preciousness of innate abilities? Really? Feng Wu's eyes were as bright as the stars in the sky. If one looked closely, one could see the caution in her eyes. Ajur sighed. Just whose family did such a simple-minded girl come from? He really wanted to meet her parents. It really wasn't easy to raise a girl like this. Of course it's true. Your ability isn't strange. No one will dislike you because of your ability. In our school, there are many people who have innate abilities like you. Some of them can fly, some of them can shield the ground, and some of them are born with boundless strength. In short, there are many kinds of innate abilities. Your innate ability is a support-type innate ability. Although it's not used for combat, it's still very powerful in other areas. What Ajur didn't say was that innate abilities that weren't used for combat were generally not valued, unless the innate ability was very useful. Although Feng Wu's innate ability couldn't be used against enemies, it was very useful when investigating something. It was much better than those useless innate abilities. Feng Wu's eyes were shining. Ajur's words had undoubtedly opened up a new world for her. Feng Wu only knew that this world was very strange. Fire could be created out of thin air, and strange spells could be used to attack. Feng Wu already thought that this world was very strange. She didn't expect that there were people in this world who were born with special abilities like her. In the past, when she was at Mount Yuehua, because she was special and no one else had that kind of ability, her master didn't let her tell others. She even told her to carefully hide her ability. Because of this, she didn't have a single friend since she was young. No, she had friends. The small animals on the mountain were all her friends. She just didn't have any human friends. Moreover, the children at the foot of the mountain were all bad children. They would throw stones at her and speak ill of her. She didn't like them and didn't want to be friends with them. Now that her ability was no longer special, and Ajur told her that there were other people who had the same strange ability as her, she was no longer a strange child, right? Feng Wu felt that the stone that had been pressing on her heart since she was young seemed to have been removed. Her whole body relaxed. Her originally expressionless face showed that she was in a very good mood. This girl was really naive. Her future husband couldn't be too smart. Otherwise, with this girl's IQ, she would be cheated until there was nothing left of her. He suddenly had a feeling that his daughter had grown up and was going to get married. Feng Wu was in a good mood now that the knot in her heart had been untied. She led Ajur all the way to the depths of the mountain. As they entered the depths of the mountain, a snow bear would appear in front of them from time to time. Ajur was already prepared for battle, but he didn't expect a magical scene to appear. Those snow bears that were originally aggressive when they saw the intruders were instantly as obedient as kittens when they saw Fengwu. Ajur was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. He thought that there would be a big battle, but he didn't expect it to be a day trip. Because of Fengwu, who had an extremely good affinity with magical beasts, the two of them were not only unobstructed along the way, but also received a warm welcome from the snow bears. They even picked 2 snow fruits that grew in the depths of the mountain for Fengwu. Ajur naturally knew about this snow fruit. It was a very good thing for ice magicians. Eating one could increase one's affinity with ice magic elements. It was a good thing that was hard to come by for ice magicians on ice transport ships. It was said that this fruit only grew in the ice hill country, but it didn't grow much in the country. Moreover, the place where the snow fruit grew was guarded by powerful magical beasts. Ordinary magicians had no way of picking the fruit. Chapter 64. Ajur didn't expect that he would be able to obtain such a rare treasure for an ice magician just by accompanying Fengwu to climb a mountain. Although it was useless to him, he knew that someone would definitely be interested in it. When the time came, he could ruthlessly extort a sum of money from that person. Just thinking about it made him happy. Fengwu put her snow fruit into her space ring, only to see Ajur holding the other one in a daze. Fengwu pulled him back to reality. After regaining his senses, Ajur immediately hid the snow fruit in his space ring. Passing through the ice and snow, the two continued to walk forward until they reached a hidden cave. Fengwu then stopped. The entrance of the cave was very small, and there were many branches and weeds at the entrance as cover. If Fengwu hadn't asked the trees in the forest for information, it would have been absolutely not easy to find such a small cave in the Mang Mang mountain. The two cleared away the things blocking the entrance of the cave, and then walked into the cave one after the other. Fearing that the murderer of the young girl was still hiding inside, Ajur volunteered to walk in front. As soon as they entered the cave, the thick smell of blood was almost suffocating. Ajur frowned and used his sleeve to cover his mouth and nose. Fengwu also took out a handkerchief to cover her nose. The handkerchief had the fragrance of jasmine, which made her nose feel a little better. The light in the cave was too dark, and they couldn't see the situation inside. Ajur used his fire ability to create a large fireball to light up the cave. Under the illumination of the firelight, they could finally see the situation inside the cave. From the outside, the cave didn't look big, but it was a completely different world. There was a bottomless passage inside the cave, and they didn't know where it led to. The smell of blood was coming from inside the cave. What a strong smell of blood. It seems that we've found the right place. And Fengwu responded, not taking off the handkerchief covering her nose and mouth. Let's go inside and take a look. Be careful later. If anything happens, run, okay? Ajur felt like he was about to become an old mother. He was afraid that this silly girl would not even be able to outrun her when the time came. Fengwu nodded, still not saying anything. Ajur knew that it was enough for her to hear him, and he didn't intend to force her to speak. The fireball that Ajur conjured with magic flew in front of them as if it was leading the way. Fengwu followed behind Ajur, and the two walked carefully in the cave. They had thought that the cave would be filled with traps, but they had been in the tunnel for a few minutes and had not encountered anything. The deeper they went, the thicker the smell of blood. 10 minutes later, the two of them finally reached the innermost part of the tunnel. Walking out of the narrow tunnel, they were greeted by a cave that was even larger than the one outside. In the center of the cave, there was actually a blood pool. Beside the blood pool, there were dried corpses of young girls. The dried corpses were densely packed throughout the cave. Simply looking at them would make anyone's hair stand on end. A cold wind blew in the cave, and one could hear the cries of young girls. Ajur knew that those were the voices of young girls. Unfortunately, she was not a necromancer, so she could not purify the resentment of these young girls and let them reincarnate. On the continent, necromancers were a special group of magicians. They could use the undead to fight, and they could also purify the undead. Necromancers were divided into white magicians and black magicians. White magicians purified the undead and communicated with them to strengthen their magic. Black magicians controlled the resentment and corpses to fight for them. Dark necromancers were very strong. They had the most evil power in the world, and were the common enemy of all magicians on the continent. White necromancers had always maintained respect for the undead, and were very respected on the continent. Wait for me here, I'll go take a look first. Ajur instructed Feng Wu and walked towards the blood pool. This was the place where the murderer disposed of the corpses, so there must be some clues left behind. At this moment, Ajur completely did not expect that the world Feng Wu saw was completely different from the world he saw. Ajur saw a blood pool filled with dried corpses, but Feng Wu saw a cave full of women. As for the other things, they were all blocked by the women, so she could not see them at all. I want to go home, Dad, I want to go home. Woo woo woo. Revenge. I want revenge. Kill him, that demon. Mom. I want Mom. Why can't I go home? I want to go home. Dad, save me. Why is no one coming to save me? I'm so scared, so scared, so scared. The cries of the women in the cave were transmitted to Feng Wu's ears. The faces of those young girls were as pale as paper, their bodies were slightly transparent, and their eyes seemed to be unfocused. They only knew how to repeat what they wanted to say. Suddenly seeing such a scene, anyone would be scared out of their wits. Feng Wu was also scared to the point that her heart skipped a beat. All kinds of mournful cries constantly transmitted to her ears, and these cries made Feng Wu feel unprecedentedly heavy. Until a girl who looked about 11 or 12 years old suddenly walked in front of Feng Wu. Her body was also transparent, but her eyes were different from the other undead. Her eyes were unfocused, and she did not shout like the others. The girl walked in front of Feng Wu and curiously stretched out her hand in front of Feng Wu's eyes, as if to determine whether Feng Wu could see her or not. You can see me, right? The girl's voice carried a trace of unconcealable joy, and a smile of surprise appeared on her originally pale face. Feng Wu silently stared at the girl in front of her without blinking her eyes. Can you see me? The girl saw that Feng Wu had been staring straight ahead and began to feel uncertain. She had waited for a person who could see her with great difficulty. Could it be that she wanted to leave so much that she misunderstood? But she clearly felt that this big sister in front of her could see her. Who are you? Feng Wu asked curiously. Feng Wu had never seen such a strange person. Her body was transparent, her skin was as white as paper, and her voice was erratic, which was very different from their usual voice. At this time, Feng Wu still did not know that the person standing in front of her was not a person at all, but an undead. You can really see me. This is great. I can finally leave here. The girl happily flew several laps around Feng Wu, and the smile on her face could not be concealed. Xiao Wu, who are you talking to? Ajur was looking for any clues in the blood pool, but after looking for a long time, he found nothing. Just as Ajur was about to look around, he suddenly heard Feng Wu's voice. Ajur thought that someone else had come, but when he turned around and saw that it was still only Feng Wu, he asked aloud. Chapter 65. Feng Wu looked at Ajur, then looked at the girl flying around her, and then pointed a pink finger at the girl. Talk to her. What was that? Ajur felt 3 black lines appear on his forehead. There's nothing there. Ajur said that he didn't see anything. There's someone there. Feng Wu nodded seriously, her little finger still pointing at the girl. When the girl saw that Ajur couldn't see her, she instantly understood. You don't have to point. Ordinary magicians can't see me. Although I don't know why you can see me, other people can't. She said that ordinary magicians can't see her. Feng Wu honestly told him the girl's words. Ajur was never a fool. When he heard Feng Wu say that, he immediately knew that Feng Wu wasn't referring to people, but the undead. Xiao Wu, can you really see that kind of thing? Ajur felt scared. Although he was a powerful magician, humans had a natural fear of the undead. What is that kind of thing? Fengwu didn't understand and looked at Ajur doubtfully. Forget it, let's go out and talk about it. Ajur didn't want to stay in this place for a second longer. He pulled Fengwu and walked out. The girl's undead immediately chased after Fengwu. Wait for me, please take me with you. I can't leave this place alone. The girl's voice was full of begging. She had been here for a long time, hoping that someone could take her away. But after waiting for so long, Fengwu was the only human who could see her. If she let go of this opportunity, she didn't know when she would be able to wait for another person to take her away. How can I take you away? Fengwu saw the hope in the girl's eyes. She only thought for 2 seconds and decided to help her. You just have to ask me if I'm willing to go with you. The girl said eagerly. Are you willing to go with me? Fengwu asked cutely. I'm willing. The young girl hurriedly replied, her voice full of relief and urgency. The moment the girl answered yes, Fengwu felt that she seemed to have a connection with the strange girl in front of her. Ajur pulled Fengwu towards the entrance of the cave. Along the way, he could hear Fengwu's voice. Originally, he didn't want to get involved. Although the undead sounded scary, they didn't have much strength. But when he heard that Fengwu wanted to take the death spirit with her, Ajur could not stay calm. That was a death spirit. What were you, a swordmaster, doing with a death spirit? When they finally got out of the cave, the death spirit naturally came out with them. The 2 people and 1 soul passed through the blizzard bear's territory and headed down the mountain. When they were about to reach the foot of the mountain, Ajur led Fengwu to a hole in a tree. He had some questions to ask her, but there were too many people at the foot of the mountain and it wouldn't be convenient for him to ask. He might as well ask her here. You brought her out? Ajur asked impatiently as soon as the 2 sat down. Fengwu nodded, blinking her eyes. You only brought 1 out, right? He had to ask clearly. His scalp went numb when he thought of the corpses in the cave. Only 1. That's good. Ajur finally breathed a sigh of relief. Having an undead and a group of undead by his side were 2 completely different concepts. Ask her if she was one of the girls who were caught and killed in the cave. Ajur could not see the death spirit, so he could only let Fengwu pass the message. Fengwu looked up at a certain place and repeated Ajur's question. The death spirit rolled her eyes and answered. She told me to tell you that she can hear you. She doesn't need me to pass the message. She also said that she was killed by a demon like the other girls in the cave. Fengwu honestly passed on the death spirit's words. Ajur's expression stiffened. He cursed in his heart. If he could see the death spirit, he would definitely invite her to eat a fireball. There should be a lot of death spirits in the cave. Why did she come out alone? Don't the others want to leave? Ajur could not see the death spirit, so he naturally did not know that the souls of the dead girls had already been corroded by the death spirit and lost their consciousness. How could a soul without consciousness think of leaving? The death spirit's eyes darkened as she thought of the other girls in the cave. Then, she opened her mouth and answered Ajur's question in a lonely voice. She said that the other death spirits have already lost their consciousness. She is the only one who still has her consciousness. If we go any later, she will also lose her consciousness. Fengwu passed on the death spirit's words. Why would she lose her consciousness? Ajur was not a necromancer, so his knowledge of the death spirit was limited. He did not know that the place where the girls died was filled with strong resentment. Places with strong resentment would form a kind of death spirit. The death spirit would corrode the soul's consciousness and turn it into a death spirit without consciousness. The death spirit told Ajur and Fengwu what she knew. Through the death spirit's explanation, Ajur finally understood why she was the only one who came out with Fengwu. It turned out that the other death spirits had already lost their consciousness. Then why is nothing wrong with you? Ajur was puzzled again. If that place was so powerful, it was impossible for her to be the only death spirit who was still alive and kicking. I don't know either. The death spirit said innocently. She really did not know. She was not the first girl to be caught in the cave, and naturally, she was not the last. There were more than a dozen girls who were caught in the cave after her. However, Those girls who came later had all changed except for her. She was with so many death spirits all day long. If Feng Wu and the others did not appear, she would definitely go crazy even if her consciousness was not corroded. A juror asked casually. He did not expect the death spirit to really tell him the truth. He did not dwell on this question, as there were more important things to ask. Do you know who killed you? A juror went straight to the point. The death spirit thought for a moment, then said something to Feng Wu. She said it was a demon, a very scary demon, Feng Wu said. Demon? What kind of answer was this? There was no difference between telling him the truth and not telling him the truth. He asked a few more questions. Although he got some clues, he could not get any more information. The two of them and the death spirit went down the mountain and returned to the village chief's house. When they arrived, the village chief had already eaten. Mealtime was always early in the small mountain village. Seeing Feng Wu and a juror come back, the villagers in the village were shocked. They could not believe that someone could come back alive from the ice bear. Chapter 66. Due to the return of Feng Wu and a juror, it caused a huge uproar in the village. People kept popping their heads out and running to the village head's door to watch the show. They really came back? There are actually people who can return from the blizzard bear. Yes, it's incredible. Could it be that those two little guys are really strong? At the village head's door, some villagers were whispering to each other. Originally, the villagers were full of doubts when they saw that the ones who accepted the mission were two immature youths. However, after seeing Feng Wu and a juror return from the mountain, although these villagers still doubted their strength, they had more confidence in them. Don't quarrel. Don't stay here. Go home. The village head's son came out to chase the villagers away. The villagers who were watching the show could only go home reluctantly. Two adventurers. Have you found the whereabouts of the missing girls in our village? When the village head's son chased the villagers away, the village head was calling the two to eat. While the two were eating, the village head asked somewhat anxiously. The village head's two daughters-in-law were attentive people. When they saw that Feng Wu and a juror had not returned yet, they kindly left some food for them. The food had been kept warm in the pot. As soon as Feng Wu and a juror returned to the village head's house, they could immediately eat hot food. The two wandered around the mountain for an entire afternoon. They were already hungry and ate very quickly. Hearing the village head's question, a juror frowned. We did find them, but they have already. A juror did not finish his sentence. The village head had already guessed what he wanted to say. Sigh. Poor children. What kind of person did this? It's really inhumane. The village head sighed deeply. Perhaps he was already mentally prepared. Although his eyes were red, he did not lose his mind because of excessive sadness. We did not find the murderer, but we found the place where he disposed of the bodies. It's in a hidden cave in the mountain. In that cave, there are at least hundreds of female bodies. Hundreds of bodies. How is this possible? Our village only lost a dozen girls. How can there be so many corpses? The village chief cried out in shock. Not all of them are girls from your village. There might be girls from other villages that have also gone missing. It's just that you guys don't know about it. When a juror discovered the dried corpses, he had already suspected that this village was not the first to lose a young girl. So many young girls' corpses could not have been accumulated overnight. Another village. The village head frowned and pondered for about half a minute before shaking his head. Our village is located in a remote area and we don't have any contact with other villages. We really don't know what's happening in other villages. The villagers really didn't interact with many people. Other than the local villagers, there were only merchants who came to the village to buy snow crystal fruits. As a result, they didn't have many chances to interact with people from other villages. Village chief, the disappearance of the young girls this time is not as simple as it seems. You'd better go to the city lord's residence and report to the city lord. Ask the city lord to send a necromancer over. The souls of those dead girls have been unable to find release in the place where they died. They need the help of a necromancer. Although Ajur had never seen the souls of those young girls, he could imagine what kind of torment their souls were going through from Feng Wu's words. Ajur didn't think that he was a soft-hearted person, but he didn't mind helping those pitiful girls if he could. I understand. I'll go to the city lord's residence tomorrow morning. The village chief sighed deeply, grieving for the lost lives of the village girls. I've already marked that cave. I believe the people sent by the city lord should be able to find it easily. This matter isn't as simple as it seems. We'll continue to look for the culprit. All right, village chief. How do we get to the nearest village? How long will it take to get there? Ajur already had a direction to investigate the disappearance of the young girls in this village. The nearest village. The village chief honestly told Ajur the locations of the nearby villages. Ajur nodded after listening. Because it was very dangerous to walk on the mountain road at night, the village chief let Feng Wu and Ajur rest at home for the night. When night fell, Feng Wu and Ajur went to bed early after a busy day. The village chief, however, was in a meeting with his son and daughter-in-law. The news of the girls' deaths in the village had to be told to the villagers. This matter couldn't be kept a secret. It was just a question of how to put it. Those parents who were already heartbroken must be heartbroken and in despair. Originally, they still had a glimmer of hope that the children were still alive when they didn't find the girls. But now that the bodies had been found, the poor parents' last hope had been taken away. The next day, Feng Wu and Ajur left the village chief's house early in the morning. They left the village under the gazes of the villagers, and the village chief asked the villagers to bring a carriage to the city lord's residence to report the news. Feng Wu and Ajur didn't go to other villages to check if there were any missing people in their villages. They went straight back to Pierre's inn. They didn't have to investigate the matter personally. It was a big deal that the village girls had gone missing. They believed that they could find out the news by simply asking around. After Ajur returned to Frost City, he hired some local people with poor family conditions through Pierre to go to the nearby villages to gather information for him. The people who were hired were originally living at the bottom of society. They were hired by Ajur for 20 silver coins each to gather information. This was a huge sum of money for those people. I asked Lam to prepare the clothes for tomorrow's banquet for you and Xiao Wu. You can go upstairs and try them on if you have time. As the employer, Pierre naturally provided the clothes. So when Ajur and Xiao Wu went to investigate the missing girls' case, Pierre asked Lam to prepare clothes for them. Okay. Ajur nodded. Fortunately, Pierre had made preparations. He really didn't prepare clothes for the banquet this time. Who would have thought that it was just a mission, and they also needed to show up at the birthday banquet of the city lord's daughter. Feng Wu sat on the side with little Bun in her arms. She didn't listen to the conversation between Ajur and Xiao Wu. Little Bun was in a bad mood because he had been abandoned by his mother for a whole day. Feng Wu was a little worried and hugged little Bun to comfort him. In Feng Wu's eyes, little Bun was her only family. Seeing that the little thing was unhappy, Feng Wu was of course worried. Fortunately, little Bun was very easy to coax. After Feng Wu hugged him and played with him for a whole day, he recovered his spirit. His little mouth blew bubbles, and his little face was very white. While Feng Wu was coaxing little Bun, the city lord's mansion was not very peaceful. Originally, the city lord was in a good mood because his daughter's birthday was coming, but he didn't expect that his good mood wouldn't last long. Chapter 67. You said that the missing girls from your village have been found? As the lord of a city, the city lord had a lot of things to do every day. The case of the missing girls had always been handled by his subordinates. Because the missing girls were only a dozen commoners and not nobles, the city lord's subordinates naturally did not investigate the matter too deeply. In this world, there would be class differences everywhere. In the eyes of these superiors, the lives of commoners were naturally not more important than nobles. The disappearance of 1 or 2 commoner girls was naturally not a big deal in the eyes of the city lord and the others. However, when there were many missing people, it was not a small matter. The city lord had only recently discovered that there had been a lot of missing girls in the past 2 to 3 years. The number of missing girls in the past few years added up to more than 200 people. This was not a small number. Even if the missing girls were just commoners, as long as the news spread, he would definitely be scolded as the city lord of Frost City. He still wanted to be transferred to a bigger city to be the city lord. If he could not achieve results in his political performance, it would be impossible for him to be promoted. In addition, he had heard that the little prince and princess would be arriving at Frost City in 2 days. He did not want the news of a major case in his jurisdiction to spread to the higher-ups. Now, as long as the missing girls were found, regardless of whether the murderer was found or not, there would be progress in the case. It could not be said that he did not do anything. Yes, we found them. It was the first time he had seen such a high official as the city lord. The old village chief was so nervous that his legs were trembling. Where are they? Where did you find them? Are they still alive? The city lord stood up from the city lord's throne excitedly. They were found on the mountain next to our village. There was a cave in the mountain. The girls all died in that cave. Fortunately, there were adventurers to help. Otherwise, those girls would not know how long it would take to find them. The village chief's heart sank when he thought of the girls who had died tragically. Hearing the old village chief's words, the city lord was a little unhappy. What do you mean? Are you saying that I am not capable enough to help you find the girls? Although the city lord was already dissatisfied with the old village chief, he did not show it on his face. Not only was there no anger on his face, but there was also a kind and amiable expression on his face. So there are adventurers helping you. I wonder if the adventurer has come. I must thank them for helping the people of Frost City. The city lord had always paid attention to his image and was also happy to make friends with strong people. In the city lord's imagination, someone who could survive under the blizzard bear's claws must be a strong person. This kind of person was worth making friends with. The 2 adventurers have already left, but they have accepted a quest from our village, so they should be back. The old villager said honestly. So that's how it is. The city lord nodded. Since Jiran would appear again, there was no need to hurry to find him. You came to find this city lord because... Only then did the city lord remember that he had yet to ask why this village chief came to find him. Replying to Lord Castellan, this humble one wants to ask you to send a necromancer to help those dead children. The adventurers said that those children's souls have been staying in the place where they died and cannot be released. This humble one has no choice but to ask Lord Castellan for help. Necromancer? What's the problem? You can go back first. Tomorrow or the day after, this city lord will send a necromancer to your village. The city lord raised his eyebrows in surprise at first, then nodded with a smile. The village chief was overjoyed and thanked him profusely before leaving the city lord's residence. Once the village chief left, the originally amiable city lord's face darkened. Men, increase the security. Do not let any suspicious person ruin the young lady's birthday banquet tomorrow. Yes. The city lord's trusted aide immediately responded respectfully. The next day, Fengwu and Ajur woke up. The necromancer girl kept following Fengwu, her entire spiritual body floating around, very lively. After half a day, some of the commoners who had been sent out by Ajur to gather information returned. They were all commoners who had gone to the nearby villages to gather information. Lord Adventurer, I've gathered the information you want. A few girls went missing in the village I went to a year ago. Because the people in that village were relatively poor and could not afford to hire an adventurer, they could only rely on the city lord's residence to catch the culprit. But more than a year has passed, and the culprit still has not been found. The girls have also disappeared without a trace, and there has been no news from the city lord's residence. The one who came to report was a boy who looked 14 or 15 years old. The boy's clothes were rather shabby, and he looked very thin and weak. One look and one could tell that he did not eat well. The boy told him the information he had gathered. Yesterday, he was very lucky to be valued by this adventurer, who had asked him to go to a nearby village to gather information. As long as he brought back the information, he would be paid 20 silver coins. 20 silver coins was equivalent to 10 months' salary. In Frost City, an ordinary commoner's salary was only 2 silver coins a month. 20 silver coins was really a large sum of money. Because of the handsome reward, he immediately agreed to help gather information. 20 silver coins was enough for his family to live on for a year if he used it sparingly. Very good, this is your reward. Ajur took out 20 silver coins and handed it to the boy under the boy's burning gaze. Go to other villages and ask. 20 silver coins for a piece of information. The information must be accurate. If you dare to deceive me, you don't want to know what will happen to you. Although Ajur did not care about the money, he did not want to be taken for a fool. Therefore, he still needed to warn the boy. The boy nervously grabbed the corner of his clothes and nodded fiercely. Then, he left Pierre's store. After the boy left, 2 more people came to report the results of their investigation. There were quite a few villages where girls had gone missing in the vicinity. So far, the furthest village was the one where the girl had gone missing 2 years ago. That village was not far from Frost City, but it had a small population of only 700 people. Ajur dismissed the person who came to report the information. He only had one thought in his mind. The reward for this mission was too low. The murderer had harmed so many people, but he only gave so little money. Was the reward not proportional to the work? But after accepting the mission, unless the mission failed, they could not withdraw from it. If they could, Ajur would definitely pull Fengwu to withdraw from the mission. It was not worth it to work so hard for so little money. Although he was not satisfied with the low reward, he had already accepted the mission. He thought it was just a small mission, but he did not expect it to involve hundreds of lives. For the whole afternoon, Ajur was not in a good mood when he thought about the low reward. When night came, the 3 changed into decent and slightly gorgeous clothes and took the invitation to the ball and went to the mayor's mansion in a carriage. Chapter 68. Tonight, the mayor's mansion was brightly lit because it was the birthday of the mayor's daughter, Miss Angel. It was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. It looked very lively. The people who alighted from the carriages were dressed in gorgeous gowns and had decent smiles on their faces. One by one, they handed in their invitations and entered the mayor's mansion. Music was already playing in the hall of the mayor's mansion. Because the ball had not yet started, there were still people arriving one after another. It was the birthday of the mayor's daughter. Those who wanted to curry favor with the mayor would not miss this opportunity. In addition to the rich merchants and nobles of the city, there were also some merchants and adventurers who came to Frost City for business. These people who were invited either had strength, wealth, or status. In short, they were not ordinary people. As for Pierre, because he was a native of Frost City and his family had been doing business for generations, he was on the invitation list. Entering the hall, Fengwu was wearing a pink dress and a simple hair ornament in her hair. She looked cute and generous. As for Ajur, because he was a handsome young man and had an indescribable temperament, he attracted people's attention wherever he went. Pierre paled in comparison to the 2 of them. Because Pierre's family was declining day by day, not many people greeted him. Pierre, who was ignored, was almost like a wallflower. Fengwu walked into the hall, took a plate of food, and then hid in a corner with Ajur to eat. After Pierre walked around the hall, he also pretended to bring some food to meet with Fengwu and the others. Those 2 over there are Wenda and Dusha. Pierre carefully pointed at the 2 people not far away. Ajur and Fengwu looked in the direction Pierre was pointing. They saw a man and a woman. The man looked gentle and scholarly, and the woman was beautiful and gentle. They believed that no one would associate them with a scumbag man and a slut. Ajur looked at them for a long time and did not see anything wrong with them. They looked like 2 ordinary people. I don't like him, Fengwu suddenly said. Who? Is it Madame Dusha? That woman is indeed a bad woman. Pierre thought he understood the sarcasm. That man. Fengwu shook her head and said, Man. Is it Mr. Wenda? Mr. Wenda has changed. Before he met Dusha, he was such a good person. Now he has become so cold and heartless. He thought of how kind Mr. Wenda used to be to him. Now he was a bastard who was dazzled by beauty. It's that demon. That demon is here. Liddy's terrified voice rang out next to Feng Wu. Liddy was the name of the undead girl. After returning to the inn, Liddy told Feng Wu about her life and her name. Liddy was taken to the cave and killed half a year ago. She was an ordinary girl in the village. Her parents had died in an accident before her accident, so she had been living alone. Because Liddy's parents left her some money and property, she was able to get by. Only some jealous people in the village had ideas about her from time to time. Because the village chief was a good person, he always protected her and did not let those people be punished. Unfortunately, the good times did not last long. One day, when she woke up, she found herself in a cave. Then a man in a black robe drew out all the blood in her body. She watched her blood flow out and die. After death, she turned into an undead. Then she watched the demon catch a girl every once in a while and put the girl's blood into the blood pool. In this way, more and more girls died. After death, their souls turned into resentful spirits. They were trapped there and could not be released. Fortunately, that person could not see their souls, so their souls were preserved. It was impossible for Liddy to not have hatred in her heart. Her biggest wish was to kill that demon and avenge all the girls who were hurt. Who is it? Through Feng Wu's words, Ajur also knew what Liddy was shouting. His heart suddenly tightened. Liddy pointed in a direction and shouted loudly. Fortunately, she was a soul. No matter how loud she shouted, no one could hear her. Is it Wenda or Dusha? Pierre also knew that Feng Wu was responsible for another task. He did not think that the murderer of the two tasks could be the same person. But was it possible? It's Mr. Wenda, Feng Wu said with certainty. Wenda. Ajur raised his eyebrows. He originally thought that it would be Dusha. He did not expect that it would be Wenda. This was really interesting. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a meaningful smile. Mr. Wenda is the murderer who killed so many girls. If it was not because the current situation was not right, Pierre simply wanted to scream out loud. Liddy flew in front of Wenda and kept shouting at him. Unfortunately, Wenda could not hear anything. Liddy was throwing flirtatious glances at a blind man. That Dusha must have asked something. If the murderer is really Mr. Wenda, then the mastermind behind it must be Dusha. Pierre said with certainty. What you said is also possible. It is impossible for a person to suddenly change so much. Ajur had done a thorough investigation on Mr. Wenda's character. Those who had helped in his family said that he was a very good gentleman. He was gentle and polite to people. He never lost his temper with the servants. How could such a nice guy suddenly turn into a cold-blooded demon? If there wasn't any special reason, Ajur wouldn't believe it. Feng Wu obediently stood at the side and ate. Her little mouth was stuffed with food. Her interest in this topic was not as high as the food in her hands. The city lord has arrived. Miss Angel and the city lord's wife have also arrived. The guests put down the food in their hands or ended the topic they were talking about. They stood on both sides to welcome the city lord's family. Behind the city lord's family, there was a young man and a young girl. The young man had a head of silver hair. No emotion could be seen in his ice-blue eyes. The aura on his body was as cold as the winter. The young girl beside the young man was the complete opposite. The young girl's hair and eyes were the same color as the young man beside her. People could see at a glance that the two were related by blood. The young girl's face had a bright and beautiful smile. Her snow-white dress made her even more beautiful and lovely. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my daughter's birthday party. My daughter will start the dance. The party will officially begin. Thunderous applause sounded from below the stage. Angel directly invited the white-haired young man to dance. The young man hesitated for a moment but still agreed. The young man and young woman began to dance. Fuck. Why did that guy also come? When Ajur saw the white-haired young man's appearance, his complexion was somewhat strange. He really did not expect to see that guy in this place. However, This was that guy's base camp. It was normal for him to appear here. Chapter 69. Ajeur's expression returned to normal in an instant. Neither Fangwu nor Pierre noticed the change in Ajeur's expression. Strange, those two people shouldn't be from Frost City. I've never seen them at any kind of ball. As a native of Frost City, Pierre naturally had a certain understanding of the nobles in the city. Suddenly seeing two unknown teenagers who seemed to be nobles naturally aroused his curiosity. Those two are not important passers-by. Don't worry about them. You can find a chance to introduce me and Xiao Wu to Wanda and Dusha. As for our identities, you can just say that we're adventurers who have accepted a mission to investigate a case. But if Mr. Wanda is really the murderer who killed so many girls, you too will be in danger. Pierre was a little hesitant. Although he dreamed of rescuing Clara, he also didn't want innocent people to be hurt. Don't worry, we're not ordinary people. If he wants to hurt us, he has to see if he has the strength to do so. Ajeur's face was full of confidence. Pierre looked at Fangwu again and found that the girl's small face was still expressionless, and she was still eating. He silently looked away. He shouldn't have expected this girl to have any other opinions. After Fangwu finished the food on her plate, Pierre led Fangwu and Ajeur to where Wanda and his wife were. Uncle Wanda, long time no see. Pierre greeted Wanda politely. Pierre, I haven't seen you for a while. How have you been? Wanda smiled very kindly. It was believed that when seeing such a gentle person, no one would be able to associate him with a murderer. When Wanda looked at Pierre with a smile, he naturally noticed Ajeur and Fangwu. The two teenagers were very outstanding, especially the teenager, who had an extraordinary temperament, like a child of a noble family. But he was sure that he had never seen this boy among the nobles of Frost City. It was really strange. These two are adventurers who have accepted the mission to help Clara. Pierre calmly introduced the two to Wanda when he noticed Wanda's gaze. Wanda's expression did not change. Other than being a little surprised, he did not show any abnormal reaction. On the other hand, Madame Tusha, who had been standing at the side with a gentle smile, had a strange look flash across her eyes when she heard about Fangwu and Ajeur. Her expression also became a little strange. Her abnormality naturally didn't escape Ajeur and Pierre's eyes. This time, they were even more certain that there was definitely something wrong with this Madame Tussaud. Hello, Mr. Wanda. Hello, Madame Tussaud. I am Ajeur, and this is my partner, Fangwu. Ajeur's smile was very gentle, and there was no trace of his usual arrogant appearance. Pierre had never seen Ajeur's true nature, so he didn't find it strange. As for Fangwu, she wouldn't question Ajeur at all. In short, in front of outsiders, Ajeur was always able to successfully hide his true nature, making people think that he was a gentle and polite young man. Wanda and his wife had this kind of feeling. You are really a gentle and polite child. No wonder you can become an adventurer at such a young age. You are really amazing. Wanda nodded with a smile, and his eyes were full of appreciation for the outstanding younger generation. You are flattering me, Ajeur said with an embarrassed face. You can rest assured that I will do my best to prove Miss Clara's innocence and rescue her as soon as possible so that your family can reunite. Ajeur suddenly said. Wanda's expression stiffened for a moment, and then returned to normal. Then I will have to trouble you, young man. Because Marlene's death has made me upset, and I don't know how to face Clara. I will have to trouble you for everything. Ajeur and Wanda chatted for a while, and not long after, the three of them went to a corner. Fangwu carried the plate and continued to get food. As for Ajeur and Pierre, the two hid behind the pillar and chatted in a low voice. What do you think? That Madame Tussaud is very suspicious, right? Pierre carefully looked around to see if anyone was approaching, and after making sure that no one was around, he asked in a low voice. Both of them are very suspicious. After Madame Tussaud heard our identity, her expression became very unnatural, and Wanda was too calm. He didn't seem to be worried about his daughter at all. He said that he didn't know how to face his daughter. In my opinion, he didn't want to see his daughter at all. In short, the two couples gave him a very strange feeling. I think so too. In fact, before Madame Tussaud appeared, Mr. Wanda loved Clara the most. But now that Madame Tussaud is here, he doesn't care about Clara at all. I always feel that Mr. Wanda's change is too big, and it must be related to Madame Tussaud. You can't be suspecting that Madame Tussaud used some kind of magic on Wanda to make him not recognize his own family, right? Ajur stroked his chin and asked with interest. Well, that's what I think. How can a person suddenly change so much? It's not normal at all. Pierre already had such suspicions, but because his strength was not enough, he couldn't confirm his suspicions. Your idea is very likely, but I just observed Wanda for a long time, and he doesn't look like a person who is being controlled by magic at all. He still had this kind of insight. It's not? Could it be that Madame Tussaud is too powerful, and you didn't see the problem? With Ajur's age, Pierre found it hard to believe that a youth of this age could have any superior insight. Ajur also didn't get angry because of his suspicions. The feeling that those two people gave him was too strange. Wanda's calmness, Madame Tussaud's hesitation, the two people showed two completely different emotions. What did it mean? While the two youths were chatting, Fengwu was holding a plate and unceasingly picking up food from the table. The city lord's mansion chef was very good, and the food they made was very delicious. Fengwu had always been interested in eating, so if there was an opportunity to casually eat, she naturally wouldn't let it go. Roasted meat, sausages, meat sauce, meatballs, chicken drumsticks, chicken wings, pork trotters, cakes, fried fish, grilled fish, meat rolls, fruits, roasted potatoes and other kinds of vegetables. In short, there were all kinds of food on the table. After a plate was finished, there would immediately be a servant who would directly serve a plate of freshly made food. Fengwu directly stood at the table and started eating. Her eating speed was very fast, but although it was fast, it didn't look rude. Heavens, how many lifetimes have you not eaten anything? A voice suddenly sounded beside Fengwu, full of disbelief. Fengwu raised her head and glanced at it. She hadn't seen it before, so she continued to eat. The girl who spoke was none other than the white-haired youth who had been brought by the city lord. Now, standing beside Fengwu was that girl. Chapter 70. The girl's large icy blue eyes were filled with disbelief and disdain, as if Fengwu had done something that angered the heavens. Fengwu ignored the girl and quietly ate the drumstick on her plate. Seeing that Fengwu was ignoring her, the girl was very unhappy. Hey, why are you ignoring me? You really haven't seen the world. I really don't understand why Angel would invite someone like you to the birthday ball. Seeing that no one was paying attention to her, the girl's heart burned with anger. She had such a noble status, and this hateful commoner actually dared to ignore her. Stop messing around. A cold voice that was about to freeze sounded from behind the two girls. Fengwu and the girl turned their heads at the same time, only to see a white-haired, blue-eyed youth slowly walking towards them. His movements were more elegant and charming than anyone else's, and with that androgynous face and that cold aura that was about to freeze, it was likely that there were countless girls chasing after him. When the girl called you, saw who it was, her small face fell. She glared at Fengwu with some grievance, and then walked to the youth's side. Fengwu completely ignored the two of them. From the beginning to the end, she only cared about food. The city lord's mansion was really a good place. There was a lot of food here. Next time, she would bring Tink with her and everyone would eat together. The meeting between Fengwu and the girl was like a small interlude. It should have been without any trace, but the girl's identity was not ordinary. Because she said that Fengwu was not qualified to attend the ball, Fengwu had gained another enemy. This enemy was none other than the host of the birthday ball, Angel. As the city lord's daughter, Angel naturally had a strong self-esteem. Because of the words that the girl called you said, Angel felt that the level of her birthday ball had lowered, and that she had invited some lowly people, causing her to be laughed at. Yueris' identity was very special, and her status was even higher than her, the daughter of the city lord. After being scolded by such a noble lady, Angel naturally felt extremely embarrassed, and secretly decided that she would definitely teach Feng Wu a lesson. At this moment, of course, Feng Wu did not know that she had gained another enemy. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Feng Wu, Ajur, and Pierre returned to the small hotel together. The next day, the city lord kept his promise and sent a necromancer to deal with the undead girls. Along with the necromancer were a few strong guards of the city lord. They were all here to protect the necromancer. When the old village head saw the arrival of the magician and the city lord's guards, he naturally warmly welcomed them. When Feng Wu and Ajur left, they told the old village head the location of the cave. The old village head called several young people and the magician to enter the depths of the mountain forest together. The depths of the mountain forest was the territory of the ice bears. In fact, to reach the cave, they did not have to go through the gathering place of the ice bears. The group took a detour and walked to the cave marked by Ajur. When the group entered the cave, a bloody smell greeted them. The old village head's face was filled with sorrow, and the eyes of the young people in the village were filled with hatred. The magician and the guards walked at the front, and the old village head and the young people of the village naturally walked behind. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they passed through a passage and finally saw piles of dried corpses and a pool of blood. Heavens! The old village head saw such a bloody scene for the first time and almost fainted. Fortunately, there were many young people on the side who supported him. Truly pitiful girls. The necromancer could naturally see the resentful spirits of the young girls. The necromancer was a bit old, and he was wearing a white magic robe. His white hair was neatly draped over his back, and his beard almost reached his stomach. At this time, the old magician looked at the resentful spirits of the young girls and sighed. As a necromancer, he had always been in contact with all kinds of undead. Even though he had seen many undead, he was still shocked by so many young resentful spirits. Only people who had been cruelly killed in their lifetime would have such strong resentment. This cave was almost filled with resentment. It was no wonder that so many resentful spirits were born. Young lives, rest in peace. Purify the spirits. The old magician muttered a few words, and then waved the magic staff in his hand. A pure white light of purification flew out from the magic staff, and the whole cave was suddenly filled with scalp-tingling screams. This, Sir Magician, this scream is... The old village head was scared pale. Although he couldn't see the resentful spirits of the young girls, he could hear their screams. The screams seemed to come from hell, sharp and ear-piercing, with deep hatred and despair. Don't worry, this is to purify the resentment of their bodies. This process may be very painful, but after the pain, they can be reincarnated and start a new life. The old magician lightly said, thank you so much." The old village head and the young people of the village cried and thanked the old magician. After a quarter of an hour, the resentful spirits of the young girls were washed away. The old magician chanted an incantation and sent these souls to reincarnate. Go back and call more people to deal with these corpses. There are so many corpses here. It seems that the missing girls in the last few years are all here. The guards sent by the city lord went back to call people to deal with the corpses. These girls died too miserably, and their bodies needed to be claimed by their families. Because the corpses of the missing girls were found, this matter quickly caused an uproar in the city. There was a new topic of conversation in the city, and now everyone's topic of conversation was about the missing girls. The inhumane murderer was hated and blamed by everyone, and the families of the victims hoped that the city lord could catch the murderer as soon as possible to get justice for the girls who died tragically. "Sir City Lord, I'm afraid this time's murder of the young girls is not as simple as it seems." The old magician returned to the city lord's mansion with his brows wrinkled. "What's the matter?" The city lord looked at the old magician's expression and knew that there was something fishy about this case. If it was just an ordinary murder case, there would be no need to kill people to make a blood pool. That blood pool is most likely not made by humans, but by an Asura. The old magician's words were undoubtedly a heavy bomb. Originally, the city lord thought that this was just a perverted murder case, but he didn't expect it to involve an Asura. This Asura was not a good thing. Legend has it that Asuras were born in the Asura Blood Sea. They were born in the Blood Sea, and were naturally bloodthirsty and warlike. They seemed to have a natural desire for blood. Chapter 71. After the Pact of the Three Realms was established, the Shura people left the human world. At that time, the Shura king used supreme magic to create a new world, which was the current Shura world. With the establishment of the Pact of the Three Realms, the Shura people could not appear in the human world without the permission of the human world. Although the rule said so, there were still some Shura people who were not disciplined. They would not shout about the Pact of the Three Realms, they only thirsted for blood. These Shura people would use the spacecraft to come to the human world to commit crimes, and the purpose of the Star Hall was to catch such stowaways and let them be punished by the arbitration tribunal. Shura. There are actually Shura people in Frost City. The city lord was shocked. Thinking of the cruelty and ruthlessness of the Shura people, he suddenly felt uneasy. Come, immediately contact the Star Hall. The city lord shouted. The panic in his voice could not be concealed. While the city lord's mansion was in a panic because of the discovery that the disappearance and death of the young girl was related to the Shura people, Fengwu and Ajur were not idle. Their mission was not completed yet. After meeting Wendia and his wife, Ajur felt that it was necessary to meet Miss Clara. You want to see Clara? Pierre was a little embarrassed. Clara was now locked in the arbitration tribunal. It was not easy to see her. Yes, I have some questions that I must ask her personally. Ajur said affirmatively. Well, as long as I can help Clara, I will find a way to let you two meet. Pierre was also going all out for his little green plum. Ajur and Fengwu stayed in Pierre's small hotel since that day, listening to the secrets that the people who were sent out to inquire about. After Ajur's investigation, there were a total of more than 20 villages that were in trouble. Each village lost more than 5 girls, and more than 20 villages added up to more than 200 girls. So many girls died, but it did not attract enough attention in the city lord's mansion. If the city lord had dealt with this matter early, so many girls would not have lost their lives. Ajur did not have a good impression of the city lord who did not do anything. With such a serious matter happening, he did not investigate the case, but held a birthday party for his daughter. Pierre did not know what method Fengwu used, but 3 days later, Ajur and Fengwu successfully entered the place where the arbitration tribunal held the suspects. Because they were not relatives, if they wanted to visit, they had to go through many approvals. If the prison chief court sympathized with Clara and allowed Ajur and Fengwu to visit, they would have to wait at least half a month to see Clara. If they wanted to visit the suspect, it was impossible for them to be alone with the suspect. When Clara was brought to the reception room, there were 2 guards in the room. Clara was a beautiful girl with brown hair and brown eyes. Perhaps it was because of her mother's death and being treated as the murderer, she was under immense pressure. Her face was pale and spiritless. She looked like a fragile paper doll that could be blown away by a gust of wind. Clara, are you okay? As soon as Pierre saw Clara, he immediately held her hand across the table, his eyes full of concern. I'm fine. When Clara saw Pierre, she tried to force a smile, but it was not so successful. Don't be afraid, Clara. These 2 have accepted your mission to help you find the murderer. The murderer of your mother will be found, and you will come out safely. Pierre held Clara's hand tightly. Pierre, don't waste time, okay? We only have 1 hour. Ajur did not want to sit here and watch them flirt. I'm sorry, Clara. This is Ajur and this is Fengwu. Both of them are excellent adventurers. They have found some clues about your mother's case, and now they have some questions to ask you. Pierre scratched his head embarrassedly, and then reluctantly let go of Clara's hand. Hello, Miss Clara. I have some questions to ask you, and I hope you can cooperate with me. Ajur went straight to the point. Clara nodded. This was a matter of her innocence, so of course, she would cooperate. Although she had doubts about the strength of these 2 adventurers, now was not the time for her to be picky. Moreover, Pierre had brought them here as a form of recognition of their strength. Ask away. As long as I know, I will tell you without hiding anything. I want to ask, on the day your mother was killed, did she leave the villa? A juror asked. Clara thought for a few seconds, and said with certainty, yes, she left the villa early in the morning. She said she had something to discuss with my father. She went out for more than 2 hours and came back. When she came back, her face was very strange. Of course, the people of the arbitral tribunal had asked her these questions. She could recall the situation at that time with just a little thought. Did Madame Marlene say anything to you after she came back? Clara shook her head and said, no, my mother didn't say anything to me. But when she came back, her face was very pale, as if she had been frightened. She was out of her mind. Since she came back, she has been locked in the room alone. She said nothing and did not come out to eat. It's really strange. A juror touched his chin. Do you think the person who killed your mother was your father? Clara was stunned. After being locked in this place for so long, she had asked herself this question more than once. Was it really her father? Was it the father who had loved her since she was a child? Unfortunately, no one could tell her the answer. Even she didn't know whether she should believe in her father anymore. Because she didn't know what to say, she could only smile bitterly. I don't know how to answer you. In my memory, my father was a very gentle person. He loved me and our mother very much. If it was my father in the past, I can tell you with certainty that it couldn't be him. But now I don't know how to answer you. He has changed. I don't know him anymore. He no longer has the love he used to have for me. There is only indifference in his eyes. I don't know if it's him. I hope it's not. As she spoke, she clenched and unclenched her hands. The struggle in her heart was so obvious that it made Pierre's heart ache. Well, let's forget about this question. I'll ask something else. A juror coughed softly and then changed the topic. On the night your mother was killed, did you see or hear anything? Chapter 72. The reception room was very quiet, and only the sound of questions and answers could be heard. The 2 guards had been paying attention to a juror and the others. A juror certainly knew that he had been blatantly monitored, but he didn't care about it. No, I didn't hear anything. It was raining heavily that night, and the sound of thunder and rain were intertwined. I couldn't hear anything at all. It wasn't until the next morning that I went to Mother's room to ask her to come down for dinner that I found out that Mother had been killed. Thinking of the scene at that time, she still trembled in fear. Her mother had died so miserably. Who killed her mother? She was such a good person. Clara recalled the past, and tears fell down one by one. Her tears fell on the back of her hand and splashed. An hour of visiting time passed in the midst of questions and answers. After an hour, Clara was brought back to her cell, and Pierre and the others left the arbitration tribunal. After returning to the small hotel, they simply ordered something and gathered together to discuss the case. How was it? After seeing Clara, did you find anything? Pierre pulled a juror into the study and couldn't wait to ask. I did find something. A juror touched his chin. Fengwu ate the snacks that Lam made for them. A juror and Pierre didn't eat, and Fengwu ate one in each hand happily. In this situation, the most likely culprits are Wende and Dusha, but I always feel that something is wrong. A juror frowned and seemed to be thinking about something. What's wrong? Pierre believed in a juror's intelligence. At least his investigation had been effective, and he had found something, unlike the previous people who only knew how to follow Wende and Dusha, but in the end, they didn't find anything. Don't you think it's strange? If one of Wende and Dusha is the murderer, or if the 2 of them are accomplices, why did they do it the day before the dissolution of the marriage? If they wanted to kill Madame Marin from the beginning, why did they wait until 3 years later? Why didn't they kill Madame Marin as soon as they brought Dusha back? This was what a juror couldn't figure out. After listening to a juror's words, Pierre nodded. You're right. This is too strange. Why do we have to wait 3 years? Could it be that we're all wrong? Actually, Mr. Wendia and Madame Tussaud aren't the murderers. The murderer is someone else. Pierre wanted to cry out in alarm. If they found that the investigation had gone in the wrong direction, all their previous efforts would have been in vain, and they would have to start all over again. Clara couldn't wait that long. If they couldn't find the murderer before the next verdict, Clara would be in danger. Just as Pierre's imagination was running wild, a juror shook his head. No, I can be sure that the murderer is either Wenda or Duchat, or they are accomplices. But didn't you just say that if it was them, they would have done it long ago? They wouldn't have to wait so long. That's the general case, but there are also unusual cases. Have you thought about it? On the day of Madame Marin's death, she told Clara that she was going to find Mr. Wenda. Do you think that Madame Marin discovered some secret at that time, and was killed to frame Miss Clara? What secret would Madame Marin discover? Although he admitted that a juror's words made sense, he couldn't figure out what kind of secret Madame Marin could discover that would make her die so miserably. What if it's the secret of the Shura people? A juror smiled coldly. Shura people? Pierre exclaimed. Feng Wu, what is that? The Shura people are not ordinary humans. They are a race called the Shura people. The Shura people are born handsome and beautiful. At the same time, they are also the most bloodthirsty race. The Shura people were born in the sea of blood. They are born to love war and blood. Their thirst for blood is no less than that of the vampires. A juror saw the confusion in Feng Wu's eyes and explained some things about the Shura people to her. After listening, Feng Wu nodded, indicating that she understood. Feng Wu understood what the vampires were. When she stayed in the library, she read a lot of books. Among them, there was an introduction to the vampires. As for the Shura people, there was also an introduction to them. But the book didn't write about the Shura people, but the Shura people, which made Feng Wu confused. Do you want to say that in fact, Madame Duchat is in Shura, and Mr. Wenda was actually bewitched by her to do bad things? This information was too much, so he had to think about it a little. After calming down a little, Pierre had to agree. A juror's words were very reasonable. If he wasn't bewitched, Wenda wouldn't have suddenly become so ruthless. The Shura people can't survive in the human world. The Shura people can't stand the magic of the human world, unless... Feng Wu recalled the contents of the book. Unless they put on a layer of human skin. The human skin can help the Shura people to resist the magic corrosion. A juror continued. Could it be that Madame Duchat is not a human, but an Shura in human skin? It was too inconceivable. He had thought of countless possibilities. For example, Madame Duchat was an evil sorcerer who could manipulate people's hearts, or Madame Duchat had put some strange curse on Wenda to make him like this. None of these possibilities imagined the other party as an Shura. Who knows? A juror shrugged his shoulders, pulled Feng Wu and left the study together, and then went back to their rooms to sleep, leaving Pierre alone in a dilemma. The next day, Frost City welcomed a big shot. Of course, this person's arrival was a secret. Except for the higher-ups in the city lord's mansion, no one else knew. This person was the star general sent by the Star Hall, the greedy wolf star among the 28 star generals of the Star Hall. Greed was a very androgynous man. He was about 20 years old and wore a gorgeous magic robe. He even held a mirror in his hand and looked at himself from time to time. This kind of greedy wolf star was simply a kind of disillusionment for the city lord and others. Each of the Star Hall's star generals had great power. Before they met, the city lord thought of them as all kinds of high-end and high-class people, but when they met, it was better to never meet them. That kind of feeling was like you finally met your idol, but when you met him, you found out that your idol was a vegetable seller in the market. Although Greedy Wolf Star looked a bit feminine, he was still good at doing things. After greeting the city lord, he didn't even eat a bite and went to see the cave where the girl was killed. After confirming that there was really an Shura's residual aura there, he returned to the city. After returning to the city, the Greedy Wolf Star didn't stay idle. He strolled all the way. No one knew if he was looking for the hidden Shura or shopping. Chapter 73. Feng Wu was very free today because there was a new development in the investigation of Madame Marlene's murder. A juror said that they were waiting for someone. As for who they were waiting for, Feng Wu didn't ask, and a juror also pretended to be mysterious and didn't say. Fortunately, Feng Wu had never been very curious, so she had nothing to do. Feng Wu was chased out by Lamu to go shopping. Lamu said that there were many unique handicrafts in Frost City, as well as many beautiful clothes and accessories that were very popular with girls. Feng Wu must go and take a look. Feng Wu girl was very puzzled. Why must girls like those things? Although she didn't understand, she still went shopping obediently. Feng Wu successfully established a good relationship with Lamu because of her good behavior during the stay in the small hotel. Lamu also personally made Feng Wu a beautiful tutu dress. Feng Wu went out today wearing the light purple dress that Lamu made personally. Recently, 3 major events had happened in Frost City, so there weren't many pedestrians on the streets. Most people went to look for the sacred beasts and the ancient magician's graveyard. There weren't many people who really stayed in Frost City. Feng Wu walked leisurely on the streets aimlessly. Because her qigong was very good, when she stepped on the snow, she only left a shallow footprint, unlike others who left deep footprints. Fortunately, there were few people on the streets, so she didn't attract much attention. Little A, have you heard? Recently, XX clothing store launched a new style of dress. Those dresses are all made of magic materials. Not only are they beautiful when worn, but they can also resist a certain amount of magic damage. Let's go and take a look, shall we? Okay, little B, let's go now. Those clothes must be very beautiful. I must ask my father to buy one for me. Me too. I already asked my mother to order one for me. I heard that those clothes are limited edition and are very popular. If we don't get them soon, there won't be any left. Little C, you're so sly. Little A and Little B complained that Little C was not loyal enough. Feng Wu was not far away from the 3 girls. She saw them talking about clothes and magic materials along the way. In short, they seemed to have endless things to talk about. Feng Wu remembered that Lam had told her to go to the stores that sold clothes and accessories, but she couldn't find them. The 3 girls in front seemed to be going to buy clothes. Feng Wu nodded and decided to follow them. Little B, do you feel like someone's following us? Little C said a little fearfully. I think so too. It can't be that murderous demon that's been spreading like wildfire in the city lately, right? Little B said with a panicked expression. What's there to be afraid of? We'll know when we turn around. You're so timid. Although Little A was also very scared, she had always been the boldest out of the 3 of them, so of course she couldn't be frightened at this time. Thus, she endured her fear and turned around to look. She was stunned. What a cute girl. She was wearing a light purple puffy skirt, her long hair draped over her waist, and she wore a crystal hairband on her head. Her eyes were as pure as black pearls. This girl was too cute. Who is she? She shouldn't be from our Frost City, right? I've never seen such a cute girl before. That's right, that's right. This girl is so cute, but why is she following us? After the 2 girls exclaimed, they couldn't figure it out. They didn't understand at all why ordinary girls from ordinary schools like them were worth being followed. Maybe it's on the way. We don't have to worry about it. We'll just go our own way. Little S said domineeringly and pulled the 2 girls who were still looking back from time to time towards the clothing store they were talking about. It wasn't that Feng Wu didn't hear what the girls said. She was following them, so they weren't wrong. In order to get rid of Feng Wu, the 3 girls rushed into the store, but they didn't expect Feng Wu to follow them in as well. The 3 girls noticed that Feng Wu didn't follow them after entering the store, but instead started picking clothes in the store. They finally breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Feng Wu wasn't following them anymore. At the same time, they secretly scolded themselves for making a fuss over nothing. So she was also coming to this store to buy clothes. No wonder she was going in the same direction as them. If that girl knew what they were thinking just now, they would be laughed at to death. Unfortunately, they didn't know that their guess was actually correct. Feng Wu had followed them into the store. Miss, These are the new designs that our store has just released. Because they're made of magical materials, they can automatically adjust the size of the clothes as long as you wear them. Not only do they fit you perfectly, they can also withstand a certain amount of magical damage. It's really very cost-effective. When a shop assistant saw that Feng Wu was picking clothes, she immediately walked up to her and greeted her with a smile. When you said that they can withstand magical damage, how much damage are they referring to? Feng Wu looked at the few fairy-like clothes hanging in front of her and asked the shop assistant seriously. They can withstand half a layer of magical damage, the shop assistant said with the same expression. So you're saying that they can't even withstand one layer? Feng Wu frowned, feeling that these clothes weren't as good as she had imagined. That's not wrong. The shop assistant was silent. This was the first time she had met such a serious customer. Under normal circumstances, those who came to their store to buy clothes were the lowest-level magic apprentices. How could these elementary apprentices have any chance of encountering magical attacks? That half a layer of magical damage resistance was just a gimmick. No one would take it seriously at all. Do you want to try it on? The shop assistant wasn't sure whether this little girl was here to look for trouble or to buy things. However, as a shop assistant, she had to greet people with a smile at all times. As long as the customer didn't turn hostile, she had to properly serve the customer. Okay. Nodding, she then carried the two clothes into the fitting room. The shop assistant breathed a sigh of relief. Facing the black-haired girl's serious appearance, she felt a lot of pressure. Feng Wu tried on the two clothes. The size was just right. Although the defense was average, the design was good and very beautiful. How much is this? Feng Wu had never bought clothes before. In the past, Auntie Lien had helped her prepare her things. Later on, a Zhe had helped her. This was the first time Feng Wu had gone out to buy things on her own. The girl was a little excited to buy something for the first time. Of course, it couldn't be seen with her stoic face. This dress is only 50 gold coins each. It's very cheap, the shop assistant said with a smile. She wasn't lying. Among the clothes made of magical materials, the price of these dresses really wasn't that expensive. Of course, they couldn't have used precious magical materials. So expensive. Feng Wu only had 150 gold coins on her. Of the 500 gold coins she had earned last time, after deducting the cost of the teleportation portal, she only had 300 gold coins left. She and a Zhe could each get 150 gold coins. Chapter 74. It's too expensive. I don't want it. Feng Wu lowered her head and went out in a bad mood. The young girl realized that she was poor and only had enough money to buy 3 pieces of clothing. Please take care. You're welcome to come again. The shop assistant was not surprised by this situation. Some girls who did not have that much money had to give up on the clothes they liked because they did not have enough money. However, he couldn't assume that those girls would never come to buy clothes just because of this. Just like last time, there was a girl who didn't have that much money at the moment, but after a few days, she came to buy 2 pieces of clothes at once. Therefore, it was wrong to look down on customers just because of their temporary purchasing power. The shop assistant saw Feng Wu walk out of the shop and was about to pack up the clothes and greet other customers. Wait, wrap up these clothes for me. The shop assistant looked over and saw a man who was more beautiful than a woman standing beside the cashier. His eyes seemed to release millions of volts of electricity, causing her to almost have a nosebleed. Oh, okay. The shop assistant wrapped the clothes with a red face and took the gold coins from the handsome man. Then, she watched him leave with a dreamy expression. It was not until he left that she came back to her senses. Handsome man, why did you appear? My aesthetic standards have improved so much. What if I can't get married in the future? When Tan Lang chased out with a pile of clothes, he saw a cute girl in light purple clothes walking listlessly on the snow. What was strange was that there was a thick layer of snow on the ground, but when the girl walked, she did not leave any footprints. If one did not look carefully, they would not see any traces of someone walking on the ground. Tan Lang also inadvertently noticed Feng Wu. He had never seen anyone walk on the snow without leaving footprints. Of course, if one walked with magic, they would not leave footprints. However, the strange thing was that this girl could do this without using any magic. This made Tan Lang very interested in this girl. In order to create an opportunity to get to know her and leave a good impression, he bought these clothes that Feng Wu did not buy. He hoped that the girl in front of him would be friends with him for the sake of the clothes. Beautiful girl, I really did not expect to see such a beautiful girl like you in this small frost city. Let's be friends. Tan Lang smiled magnificently. He knew his charm. He did not believe that a little girl could ignore his face that could turn all living things upside down. Feng Wu stared blankly at the man in front of her. This person's smile was very strange. See, I told you, no woman can escape the charm of Lord Greedy Wolf. Tan Lang proudly stroked his hair. Ah, wretched. Didn't Auntie Lien say that your smile is called a wretched smile? She had heard this phrase from Auntie Lien. When she lived in the village, there was always an ugly uncle who would smile like this whenever he saw Auntie Lien. At that time, she had asked Auntie Lien why that person was smiling. Auntie Lien said that in the future, if he saw someone smiling like that, he should hide further away. It was just that Auntie Lien didn't explain what she meant by vulgar, so she didn't understand. Wretched. As a star general, Tan Lang wretched, what kind of eyesight was this? He should find a doctor to properly examine her eyes. This child's eyes definitely had problems. Little sister, the word wretched is not used like this. You should say that I am handsome and extraordinary, peerless in my generation, devastatingly beautiful. A string of praises seemed to come out of his mouth without thinking. Hearing this, the Feng Wu girl stared blankly. Narcissistic. This word was something she had heard from Tenk's mouth. Sometimes, when a jur said something she did not understand, Tenk would say that a jur was narcissistic. Tenk said that the so-called narcissism was a feeling of superiority over oneself, an expression of excessive self-confidence. She felt that the man in front of her she did not recognize was the narcissistic word Tenk spoke of. Narcissistic. No, this is called self-confidence. Tan Lang's forehead was already beginning to show a small well. Forget it, let's not talk about it. Let's go. Today, Big Brother Tan Lang will treat you to cake. There just so happens to be a cake shop nearby. Let's go eat. Tan Lang felt that if he continued to speak with the girl in front of him, he probably would have a brain hemorrhage. No, a jur said that I cannot go with someone I do not know. Although Feng Wu did not understand the meaning of others' words most of the time, she was still an obedient girl. At the very least, when someone was sincerely thinking for her good, she still had to listen to what that person said. Just like what a jur said, she knew that a jur was worried that she would be deceived, so Feng Wu very obediently agreed to not go with a stranger. Then very well. I am called Tan Lang, 25 years old this year, a youthful and beautiful youth. I have a proper occupation, a stable income, powerful strength, absolutely upright and excellent. Tan Lang felt very good about himself as he flung his hair. Your turn. What is your name? Tan Lang smiled like Grandmother Wolf who was tempting Little Red Riding Hood. Whose family did this girl come from? She was so innocent that she was stupid. He really did not know how her family raised her to be like this. Tan Lang, who was smiling happily, suddenly remembered that Feng Wu had said that he was smiling wretchedly. He immediately restrained his smile. He could not let the girl hate him. My name is Feng Wu. I am a first-year student of the Notre Dame du Starlight. I am a swordsman. Feng Wu thought for a moment before replying. Now we are not strangers. You know my name, and I know your name. Let's go and eat together. Tan Lang pushed the girl from behind and pushed her into a cake shop. The cake shop's business was pretty good. Most of the customers who came to eat cake were young girls and some couples. When Feng Wu and Tan Lang walked in, the customers and the waiters in the shop immediately brightened up. Wow, what a handsome guy and a beautiful girl. They were really lucky today to see such an eye-catching pair. What would the two of you like to eat? Today's chestnut cake is not bad. Chestnut cake is on special sale today. As long as you buy 5 pieces of chestnut cake at once, you can get a cup of delicious fresh fruit juice. The waitress was a very beautiful young girl. When the girl was speaking, her eyes could not help but stare at Tan Lang non-stop. What a beautiful boy! How could there be such a good-looking person? Xiao Wu, order whatever you want to eat. Don't save me money. Tan Lang's tone was like a nouveau riche. Miss, please take a look. This is the menu. Fortunately, the waitress was not mesmerized by the beauty. At the last moment, she remembered that she was still working. She could not let a beauty affect her work. Chapter 75. Feng Wu took the menu and looked at it for a while. She felt that all of them looked delicious. What should she do if it was difficult to choose? Seeing the troubled look on Feng Wu's face, he guessed that she probably didn't know which one to eat first, so he said again, "If you don't know what to choose, you don't have to choose. Give me one of your best-selling cakes and a pot of herbal tea." "Okay, please wait for a moment." The waiter took the menu and left to prepare the cake for the two of them. A few minutes later, the pastries ordered by Tan Lang were all delivered to the table. There were more than 10 kinds of delicious cakes on the table, and the table was almost full. Initially, Tan Lang thought that he might have ordered too much. He felt that it was too sweet just by looking at it, so how could he eat it? In order to maintain his perfect figure, he had always paid special attention to his diet. Therefore, he ordered these pastries for Feng Wu in front of him. He would not eat such sweet things. But now, looking at the thin and weak girl in front of him, and then looking at the table full of cakes, he suddenly wondered if he had ordered too much yesterday. Such a thin and weak girl would probably not be able to eat more than 2 pieces. He wanted to ask the waiter to return some of the cakes, but he accidentally saw the Feng Wu girl's eyes shining. He could not say it out loud. Forget it, if she couldn't finish it, he would take it away. He, Tan Lang, could not disappoint the girl. Eat slowly. If you can't finish it, it's okay to take it away. As he spoke, he was shocked by the speed at which the girl ate the cake. She ate a cake the size of a fist in 2 bites. He only said a few words, but the girl in front of him actually ate 2 pieces of cake. Now, she was attacking the 3rd cake. He did not know what to say after that. Strange, what did he want to say just now? 15 minutes later, more than 10 pieces of cake were all gone. All the plates were clean and looked no different from washed ones. "Are you full? Do you want a few more slow cakes?" Tan Lang asked carefully. "No need. I still have to go back for dinner later. I can't eat too much." Feng Wu looked at Tan Lang seriously and said, "Young girl, are you sure you're not joking? After eating more than 10 pieces of cake, you're actually telling me you're planning to go back for dinner. Xiao Wu, when you get married in the future, you must find a rich husband, understand? Ordinary people can't afford to raise you." Tan Lang looked into Feng Wu's eyes seriously. "Please look at my sincere eyes. I'm doing this for your own good." "Oh, I know." Ajur said the same thing. Feng Wu nodded. Ajur had said the same thing after seeing her appetite. So he wasn't the only one who thought this way. Tan Lang nodded and understood. "Here, this is a gift for you." Tan Lang suddenly took out an exquisite bag. This was the bag that all the clothing stores on the continent used to store clothes. "For me." She took it doubtfully and opened it. It turned out to be the clothes she had tried on in the store just now. "I saw that it looked good when you tried it on. Then I saw that you didn't buy it, so I bought it for you. This is a gift for a friend. You can't reject it." As he spoke, he winked playfully. Feng Wu looked at the clothes and then at Tan Lang. Ajur said that she couldn't accept gifts from strangers. Tan Lang treated her to cake and even chatted with her. They should be friends. Friends should be able to accept gifts, right? Feng Wu wasn't too sure, but seeing Tan Lang's expectant eyes, she still accepted the gift. "I don't have a gift for you." Her voice was a little listless. "It's okay. You can give it to me when you find something suitable." Tan Lang said generously. Tan Lang, you're actually a good person. He bought slow cakes for her and even gave her a gift. Had he been given the good guy card? Tan Lang was a little depressed. Why was this girl so dumb? After Tan Lang went to the cashier to pay the bill, he left with Feng Wu. He was afraid that he would see the strange look from the waiter if he left a little later. Let's go. I'll send you back. Tan Lang said with a smile. You want to send me back? Feng Wu held a bag of clothes in one hand and looked cute. Yeah. I'm going to meet your friend Ajur. Actually, Ajur and I know each other. Tan Lang rubbed the girl's soft black hair. Tan Lang was like a satisfied cat. Her hair was really soft. You know Ajur? Feng Wu widened her eyes in surprise. Tan Lang was Ajur's friend? Let's go. We'll know when we meet him. Tan Lang grabbed Feng Wu's hand and walked forward. After a few steps, Feng Wu suddenly stopped moving. Tan Lang couldn't pull her away no matter how hard he tried. 3 black lines appeared on his forehead. Sister Xiao Wu, I'm not lying to you. I'm really Ajur's friend. Tan Lang thought that he was being suspected. He sighed and tried to convince the girl to believe him. No, you're going in the wrong direction. It's this way. The girl calmly pulled her hand out and turned to look in the other direction. Let's go. Pierre's small hotel was doing very well because of the 2 big events that happened in Frost City. It wasn't dinner time yet, but there were already many people sitting in the lobby on the first floor drinking and eating. They were all eating barbecued meat. Lam's barbecued meat was excellent and was very popular with the guests. Pierre and Ajur were also sitting at a wooden table with a cup of ale in their hands. Little Bun was playing upstairs with Little White accompanying him. While they were eating happily, the door opened. A handsome man walked in first. The man was so beautiful that it was hard to tell if he was a man or a woman. His face could kill both men and women. Welcome. Lam immediately went to greet him. He wondered where this young man came from. It was too dangerous for him to walk alone outside. The handsome man calmly walked into the shop. Behind him was a little beauty in a light purple dress. This little beauty was too familiar. Xiao Wu, why did you come back with Tan Lang? Ajur guessed that the necromancer would definitely find the problem with the cave and report it to the Star Hall. But he didn't expect that the Star Hall would send the sissy Tan Lang. Tan Lang was one of the 28 star generals of the Star Hall. He was a magician, but his swordsmanship was also outstanding. He was a very powerful opponent. In the Star Hall, his position wasn't low and he was very important. It was just that he was too vain. In the morning, it would take him 2 hours to dress up and wear the clothes he was going to wear that day. On average, he would look in the mirror once every hour. It was said that the mirror in his hand was his weapon. The weapons of star generals could freely change their forms. Every generation of star generals could change their weapons once when they took over the position. Of course, that was the only time. Chapter 76. When the weapon's transformation was complete, the corresponding constellation would bestow the weapon with the corresponding power. Every generation of star generals couldn't use the same weapons, and of course, their functions couldn't be exactly the same. When a weapon transformed, if you wanted it to be a sword, then it would be a sword. If you wanted it to be a staff, then it would be a staff. Among star generals, not all of their weapons were swords and staffs, but their weapon was a mirror. Perhaps this guy alone was the only one. Greedy Wolf's mirror had the function of reflecting the truth. It was very effective against those demons and Ajuras who were good at disguising themselves. Thinking of this, Ajur could guess why this guy came. Little Flame, long time no see. Greedy Wolf walked to Ajur's table and sat down. Many people noticed Greedy Wolf. After all, he was very handsome, and it was hard for him not to attract attention. Fortunately, there were only men here, and only Lamu and Feng Wu were women. Although Greedy Wolf's face was indeed very eye-catching, men always valued strength more. Greedy Wolf didn't have any weapons in his hands, and he had the posture of a noble young master. Except for Ajur, who knew his background, no one could treat such a beautiful man as a master. Xiao Wu, you're back. Ajur was too lazy to pay attention to this guy, and directly ignored him. Yes, this is a gift from Greedy Wolf. Feng Wu still wasn't sure whether she should accept Greedy Wolf's gift, and she was a little hesitant when she spoke. Ajur waved his hand. It's okay. Just accept this guy's gift. This guy doesn't have any other skills, but he has a lot of money. After saying that, he curled his lips at Greedy Wolf. This guy was still as annoying as when he was a child. Greedy Wolf felt a little itchy to beat him up. Come, sit down and eat something. Xiao Wu, you've been out for so long. You must be hungry. Pierre said to Feng Wu considerately. Yes. Feng Wu nodded. She handed the clothes that Tan Lang gave to Ram and sat beside Pierre. Tan Lang had already taken the seat beside Ajur. I didn't expect the Star Hall to send you here. I thought it would be Wu Chu or Lien Zhen. Ajur took a big gulp of ale and glanced at Greedy Wolf carelessly. The two of them happened to have other missions and were not around. Ziwei had no choice but to send me, Tan Lang said nonchalantly. In any case, he and this brat hated each other. Brother Tan Lang is from the Star Hall? Pierre had never thought that one day he would be able to drink with those big shots of the Stars Hall. The identity of Greedy Wolf surprised and delighted him. He's just a janitor in the Star Hall. Don't worry about him. Ajur sneered and said disdainfully. Sweep the yard. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never associate this Lord Greed with the aunties and uncles who swept the yard. Ajur is right. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Eat, eat. Tan Lang, who was called an uncle who swept the yard, was eating the barbecue and ale that Ram had just given him. Tan Lang was already eye-catching. Sitting at the same table was Ajur, a flame-like handsome man. Two handsome men gathered at their table. Even if there were no women around, they still attracted a lot of attention. The hall was not a place to talk. After the four of them finished eating, they went to the second floor and went directly to Pierre's study. Tell me. You've been in Frost City for a few days. You should have found out a lot of things. Tan Lang sat on the sofa in the study as if he was familiar with it. It was just a simple action of sitting down, but he could make it look elegant and charming. That's true. In Frost City, the most suspicious people are Wende and Dusha. Take a good look at their true faces with your mirror. Tan Lang nodded, accepting Ajur's advice. After that, Ajur told Tan Lang about what had happened in Frost City recently. Of course, the most important thing was the things that happened around Wenda's family, as well as the hundreds of female corpses in the cave. This time, Xiao Wu and I have accepted a mission to find the murderer. Before you take the Shura away, remember to let me and Xiao Wu hand in the mission. Ajur was not willing to work for free. He and Feng Wu still needed to make money. Tan Lang felt that it was nothing, so he agreed. Since he agreed, Ajur did not think about wasting time. He had not done anything in the past 2 days because he was waiting for the people from Star Hall to come. Because the matter involved the Shura, it was not simple. Star Hall was responsible for arresting these illegal immigrants who did not abide by the Convention of the Three Realms. Of course, the arresting work could only be carried out after the people from Star Hall arrived. When night came, the moon of Frost City hung high in the sky with a cold chill. At this time, the manor where Mr. Wonder lived was silent. It was as if no sound could be heard. There was a faint candlelight in the manor, which made people feel that it was not an empty house. What's going on? Why are they sleeping so early? Ajur, Tan Lang, and Feng Wu sneaked into the manor where Wende and his wife lived. However, the silence and gloominess of the manor made people feel very uneasy. There's something wrong with this place. It was not Tan Lang's first time on a mission. Naturally, he could tell that something was wrong with the manor. It was too quiet. Even though most people in Frost City were used to going to bed early because the night was longer than the day, it should not be so quiet. There should be servants keeping watch at night in the manor. Xiao Wu, be careful later. If you can't win, run, okay? Ajur looked at Feng Wu worriedly. He was afraid that she would be so stupid that she would choke herself to death. Okay. Nodding obediently, Ajur was relieved. He knew that Feng Wu would definitely do what she promised. I'm very powerful, Feng Wu said seriously. She had Xiaochun and could protect herself. Unfortunately, no one believed her. No one would believe that a freshman could be so powerful. Tan Lang patted the girl's head. Then, the three of them moved carefully in the courtyard. There were no candles in the courtyard. They could only rely on the faint moonlight for illumination. When the three of them passed by a very beautiful flower bed, Feng Wu suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Ajur had been paying attention to Feng Wu. When he found that Feng Wu did not follow, he immediately turned back to look for her. There's a person buried here. These flowers are very sad. They said that the person buried here is a good person. A person buried here. Ajur had a certain understanding of Feng Wu's ability. He knew that she could understand the language of these plants. Therefore, if Feng Wu said that there was a person buried here, then there must be a person buried here. Chapter 77. Don't worry about it for now. Let's find Wandea and Dusha first. Tan Lang made a prompt decision. The three of them moved forward again. They decided to test that Dusha first. Dusha's identity was a mystery. Ever since they came to Frost City, several major events had happened in Frost City. In short, this woman was Ajur's most suspicious target. Just as the three of them reached the door and were about to open it, the door suddenly opened from the inside. The person who opened the door was a girl dressed as a maid. When the girl saw three strangers suddenly appear, she was so frightened that she immediately wanted to scream. Tan Lang quickly covered the maid's mouth. Don't scream. We're not bad people. Take us to a hidden place now. We have something to ask you. Tan Lang covered the girl's mouth with one hand and restrained the girl's body with the other, not allowing her to move. The girl nodded and then obediently led them to a room where miscellaneous items were stored. This room was filled with miscellaneous items that were not usually used, but it did not look like anyone would come here. I'll let you go now. We have something to ask you. Answer our questions properly and we won't hurt you. After Tan Lang finished speaking, he gently let go of the girl's mouth. The girl first heaved a sigh of relief, then turned around to look at Tan Lang and the other two. Are you investigating Master Wandea and Madame Dusha? The girl's voice was very excited, and there was even some anticipation in her voice. How did you know? Ajur did not expect this maid to be so smart. Wouldn't a normal person think that they wanted to break into the house to steal? I guessed. The girl said embarrassedly. Do you know something? Tan Lang was worthy of being a star general. He saw through the girl's hesitation at a glance. I can tell you what I know, but please save Madame Dusha. As long as you promise to save her, I'll tell you what I know. The girl anxiously wanted to pull Tan Lang's sleeve, but who was Tan Lang? He never liked strangers having physical contact. If he was not afraid that the maid would scream, he would not have touched her at all. The girl did not reach out her hand after grabbing the air. Instead, she grabbed her skirt with both hands, appearing to be at a loss. Who are you? Why do you want us to save Madame Dusha? Ajur suddenly felt that this girl's identity might not be ordinary. Could she be Dusha's confidant? It had to be said that Ajur was right. This girl was really Madame Tussauds' trusted aide. My name is Sheila. I'm Madame Tussauds' dowry maid. Sheila clutched her skirt. Although she was a little hesitant, she still revealed her identity. Ajur and Tan Lang exchanged glances. They were so lucky to have met a big fish that was useful to them. As far as I know, the current Mr. Wanda loves Madame Tussaud very much. Why do you still want us to help you save Madame Tussaud? Greed asked. If it's the real Mr. Wanda, I naturally wouldn't be worried, but this person is no longer Mr. Wanda. Sheila suddenly covered her mouth and cried bitterly. Her cries were filled with despair and sadness. "What's going on? Can you tell us the whole story? How did Madame Tussaud get involved with Mr. Wonder?" Originally, Ajur had always thought that the problem was most likely Madame Tussaud. Her origins were a mystery, and she had suddenly appeared in Frost City. Since her arrival, there had been so many murders. All of these incidents could not be unrelated to her. But now, listening to the little maid's words, it had nothing to do with Madame Tussaud. It was all Wenda's fault. Most importantly, Wanda was not the real person. They had thought of many possibilities, but they had never suspected that Wanda was fake. This news really surprised Ajur and Greed. Only Fengwu was relatively calm. She had a stoic expression the entire time. "Actually, our madam has known Mr. Wanda for a long time. Madam is the sister of Master's first love. Master and Madam's sister were originally a couple. At that time, Master's family business had some problems. Madam's family did not agree to the marriage. Instead, they married Madam's sister to a rich aristocrat. Unfortunately, that noble committed a crime, and in the end, his entire family was implicated. Even the Madam's family suffered a serious blow, and the family fell into decline. At that time, the Madam was only a 10-year-old child, but she saw her family members leave her one by one because they could not withstand the blow. Just when Madam couldn't hold on anymore, Master Wanda appeared. At that time, Miss Clara was already 3 years old. Master Wanda and Madame Marin's relationship was very stable. When he heard that something had happened to his first love's family, he was still worried and wanted to take a look. When Master Wanda arrived, Madam was the only one left in her family. Master Wanda was a good person. Because of his wife's status, it was inconvenient to bring her home, so he bought another house outside Frost City and left a few servants to take care of his wife's daily life. Master Wanda also often came to visit. Madam was a kind person. Most of the servants in the house were pitiful people who were taken in by Madam. I was also taken in by Madam. After Madam took me in, I became Madam's personal maid. After becoming Madam's maid, I learned that Madam had been in love with Master Wanda. It was just that she was too young at that time, and Master Wanda already had Madame Marin. Madam had always hidden her feelings in her heart. This feeling was hidden for 12 years. When Madam was 22 years old, she saved a pitiful man. That man was an orphan in the village. He was also in his 20s. At that time, Madam saw him lying on the roadside with blood all over his body, so she saved him. That man was very diligent and efficient in his work. His popularity in Madam's villa was getting better and better. At that time, several of us girls who were also maids fell in love with him. We hoped that Madam could make one of us become his wife. Originally, I was very confident in becoming his wife because I was the most beneficial person by Madam's side. Among all the maids, Madam loved me the most. Wait, what we want to hear is about Wanda and Madame Tussaud, not about your love history. When Ajur heard that she had actually changed the topic from Madame Tussaud to himself, he couldn't help but speak out to stop her. This is also related to Madam, and it's very important. Please listen more and you will understand. Sheila was a little embarrassed and said eagerly, "Ajur, let her talk. I think she will talk about this matter. It shouldn't be something insignificant." Tan Lang was much more patient than Ajur. Chapter 78. Ajur nodded in agreement and let her continue. Sheila took a deep breath and continued. "That man was called Marlin, and I liked him. I also thought that I would marry him, but later on, I found that he often stared at the madam in a daze, and would secretly hide the madam's handkerchief. At that time, I knew that the one he liked was not us maids, but the madam. Marlin fell in love with the madam. This was simply a bolt from the blue for me. I knew that even if Marlin loved the madam, there would be no result between them. I wanted Marlin to dispel the thoughts in his heart for the madam, so I began to hint to him that the madam had a sweetheart. Although I hinted many times, I also knew that the Madame's love for Master Wendell could not be known by others, so I did not hint that the person was Mr. Wendell. But I did not expect Marlin to be so smart. When Mr. Wendell came to visit the Madame, he discovered the Madame's feelings for Master Wendell. I thought that he would give up. As long as he gave up, he would be able to accept my feelings. After all, I loved him so much. But I did not expect that Marlin would disappear the next day. I thought that he could not bear the blow, so he left without saying goodbye. Although my heart was in pain, I believed that he would come back one day. Not long after Marlin left, Mr. Wendell came to visit the Madame again, but this time, after Mr. Wendell left, the Madame was as happy as a happy bird. Later on, the Madame told me that Mr. Wendell actually responded to the Madame's love, and he also planned to take the Madame to his home, and wanted to dissolve the marriage with Madame Marin. All of this was simply inconceivable. Mr. Wendell used to visit the Madame every day, and I saw very clearly that Mr. Wendell did not have any feelings for the Madame, so how could he suddenly love the Madame so much that he was willing to give up his original family for her? But the Madame was too happy, and did not listen to my persuasion. She only wanted to become husband and wife with Mr. Wendell, and be together forever. Later, the Madame only took me, a maid, and left the house that she had lived in for more than 10 years, and went to Master Wendell's manor, where we met Madame Marin and Miss Clara for the first time. Master Wendell had a big quarrel with Madame Marin in front of me and Madame. Madame Marin insisted on not cancelling the marriage. The two of them were in a deadlock. Madame was sandwiched between them and had to bear the supercilious looks of the servants in the manor. This made Madame very sad, but she couldn't bear to force Master Wendell. Thinking about what had happened when she first came to this manor, it was as if a lifetime had passed. If she knew the truth of the matter, she would not have let Madame come to this place no matter what. After 3 years, Madame Marin finally thought it through and was willing to help Master Wendell and Madame Tussaud. Marin had left half a year ago, and as long as they dissolved their marriage, they would no longer have any relationship with each other. I thought that Madame Marin and Master Wendell would finally be able to live a happy life. Madame Marin was also very happy. She had waited for so many years, and finally, she and Master Wendell would be together. But I gradually felt that something was wrong. Not long after Madame Marin moved away, the old servants in the manor who had been working for a long time were dismissed by Master Wendell. Although Master Wendell was still a gentle master, his eyes often reminded me of Marlin. I thought that I was thinking too much and missed Marlin too much, so I had this kind of feeling. Thinking of Marlin, the man she loved deeply, she sighed. Things had developed like this because of this man. If she had not saved this man and returned home, would these things have happened? She didn't know. Ajur, Tan Lang, and Feng Wu quietly listened to Sheila's story. No one spoke to interrupt her. They had a feeling that the truth of the incident was about to emerge. Until late one night, I couldn't sleep and got up to drink water. But I saw Marlin wearing a black robe walking into Master's study. I was worried that Marlin might know that Madame Marlin and Master Wendell were going to get married and came to find trouble with Master. So I quietly peeped through the unlocked door to see the scene in the study. Who would have thought that I would see something I would never forget for the rest of my life? Marlin took off his skin from his head to his feet. After taking off his skin, he turned into a stranger. That man was extraordinarily handsome, but he gave off a dangerous vibe. After that man took off his skin, he put on a new skin. This new skin was actually Master Wendell's skin. At that time, I was stunned. I wanted to quietly return to the room, but who knew that I would accidentally make a sound? Master Wendell immediately ran out to check. I quickly hid in an empty guest room. At that time, a new maid happened to be secretly eating in the kitchen. She heard the noise and came out to check the situation, but she was discovered by Master Wendell. Master Wendell thought that she was the one who found out his secret, so he directly sucked the new maid's blood. I saw Master Wendell bury the new maid's body under the flower bed. I quietly returned to the room when Master Wendell went to bury the body. From that day on, I knew that Master Wendell was not the master that Madame Marlin loved. I didn't know who he was. I thought about hinting at Madame Marlin, but Madame Marlin was a simple woman. She didn't know how to hide her emotions. I was afraid that the devil would harm Madame Marlin if he found out the truth. After hesitating for a while, I decided not to tell Madame Marlin about it. How did Madame Marlin die? Was she killed because she found out Wenda's true face like you? Ajur suddenly thought of Madame Marlin's death. His intuition told him that Madame Marlin's death must be related to this matter. Shira's expression stiffened, and then her eyes were full of regret. Madame Marlin's death was an accident. The day before Madame Marlin decided to divorce Master Wendell, Madame Marlin went to Master Wendell to talk about the custody of Miss Clara. At that time, before Master Wendell came down, I gave Madame Marlin some hints, hoping that she could find out that there was something wrong with Master Wendell. Then, she could report this matter to the city lord. That way, Madame Marlin would be saved, and the devil would also be arrested. Hearing this, Tan Lang sneered. Since you already knew that there was something wrong with Master Wendell, why didn't you go to the city lord's mansion to report it yourself? Instead, you hinted at Madame Marlin. If it weren't for you acting smart and hinting, Madame Marlin would have dissolved her marriage with the fake Wanda the next day and live a good life with her daughter. In the end, you are just a selfish woman. I'm just a maid. It's not that easy to see the city lord. If I reported it and was found out by that person, he would definitely kill me. Chapter 79. At first, Sierra felt a little guilty, but the more she spoke, the more she felt that she didn't do anything wrong. She was just a little maid. What could she do? What could she do? She only hinted to Madame Marin to protect herself and Madame. What did she do wrong? She didn't do anything wrong. You can't see the city lord, but you can go to the Star Hall for help. You don't have to go to the Star Hall in person. Just write a letter and send it out. You won't expose yourself. Don't say that you can't read. Even if they were civilians, the Empire allowed them to learn a certain amount of knowledge, so these servants actually knew how to write. I can't expose myself. Madam, and I will be in danger. I can't. Sheila could only repeat those few words with a pale face. Every word was so weak that it couldn't hide her selfish and self-reliant nature. You deliberately hinted that this Master Wenda might be a fake in front of Madame Marlene, and then Madame Marlene wouldn't run to the fake Wenda to confront him, right? Ajur interrupted her impolitely. No, that's not it. Madame Marin was just trying to find out when she was talking to Master. Perhaps Master noticed her. That night, I saw Master go out once, and the next day, I heard the news of Madame Marin's death. The reason why the fake Master framed Clara was because he was afraid that Clara would find out that he was a fake father sooner or later, so he took the initiative to gain the upper hand. Those old servants who had served the real Master Wenda for many years, I'm afraid that when he replaced the real Master Wen, they found all kinds of reasons to get rid of them. Ajur said faintly. It was easy to understand why they got rid of those people because they were all old people who followed Wenda. No matter how good a person was at pretending to be another person, there would be a time when he would give himself away. That was why the fake drove away those old people who could easily see through the flaws. On the other hand, Madame Marlene had been using their relationship to cover up her change. Clara was originally the most troublesome because she was the daughter of Marlene and Wenda. Unless Clara was married off, there was no good reason to chase her away. When he killed Marlene, he had already thought of framing Carola. Once Carola became the murderer of her mother, she would have to spend the rest of her life in prison. Naturally, it would be impossible for her to go home and find out the truth that he was not the real Wenda. Sheila didn't say anything, obviously agreeing with Ajur's guess. Please don't hurt our madam. Madam is really a good person. She doesn't even know that Master is a fake. Please don't hurt her, okay? Greed looked at her. Although he didn't want to admit it, although this girl was very selfish, she really wanted to protect Madame Tussaud. However, her actions caused many people to die because of her. If she didn't go to Marlin and give him a hint, maybe the real Wenda wouldn't have died. If she didn't go to Madame Marlene, then Madame Marlene wouldn't have been killed, and Clara wouldn't have been made the scapegoat. Although she was a loyal servant, she had played a major role in all these tragedies. Even the maid had died because of her. Greedy Wolf had always disliked people like her, who constantly sought death and caused the deaths of others. You don't know? You really don't know? Even you, the maid, could feel that something was wrong with Master Wendell before you found out the truth. As the fake's pillow, and also secretly loved the real Wendell for 12 years, how could she not notice it? Ajur sneered. If Madame Tussaud didn't notice it at all, he wouldn't believe half a word. Hearing Ajur's words, Sheila was stunned. She had never thought about this problem. Yes, if someone like her who didn't have much contact with Mr. Wendell could notice the problem, how could Madame Tussaud, who had always been secretly in love with Mr. Wendell, not notice it? Could it be that Madame Tussaud really noticed it? She just didn't say it out loud. This idea surprised Sheila. She always thought that she was the only one who knew the secret, but it turned out that Madame Tussaud also knew it. Take us to the fake. He has harmed so many people, it's time to pay back his debt. Greed's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. Sheila obediently stepped forward to lead the way. She was now in a difficult situation. If these people didn't defeat the fake Master Wendell today and save her and Madame Tussaud, Master would only know that she betrayed him. She was afraid that she wouldn't be allowed to live. She didn't want to die like the maid who was sucked dry of blood. With Sheila leading the way, they were directly taken to the door of Wendell's study. At this time, the fake Wendell would be reading in the study. As for whether he was really reading or not, no one knew. Sheila took them to the door and ran to find Madame Tussaud. She wanted to take advantage of the fact that they were fighting to escape with Madame Tussaud. Ajur and the others had already noticed Sheila's escape, but they didn't care. They were here to catch the stowaways. As for whether a maid wanted to escape or not, it had nothing to do with them. The door of the study was tightly closed. Ajur and Fengwu exchanged a look, indicating that she should be careful. Fengwu nodded. Greed took the lead and opened the door and went directly into the study. When he opened the door, he saw Wanda sitting behind the desk with a book in his hand. Who are you? Why did you break into my manor? When the fake Wanda saw that someone had broken in, he immediately put down his book and a touch of vigilance appeared on his face. Your manor? How come I didn't know that Shura people can have real estate in the human world? Greed laughed twice as if he had heard a joke. How could you know? The fake Wendell was shocked. He had been perfectly hiding for so long, how could he be discovered? Haven't you been to the cave recently? Don't you know that your blood pool has been discovered? If Shura people wanted to live in the human world, they had to bathe in the blood of virgins every once in a while. The blood of virgins was a great tonic for Shura, allowing Shura to stay in the human world for a longer period of time. When the fake Wenda heard them talking about the cave, he knew that his identity was really exposed. It had been 3 years, and he had only been catching the civilian girls in the small villages because he was afraid of attracting the attention of the city lord. He didn't expect that he would still be discovered. If he had known, he wouldn't have been catching people in the vicinity of Frost City. He should have gone to other cities to find more virgins. Fortunately, Greed didn't know what he was thinking. Otherwise, he wouldn't even bother to talk nonsense and would directly start fighting. The fake Wanda's face was livid. I know that the two of you are here to investigate the truth of Marlene's case. How much money can Clara give you? I will give you 10 times. As long as you don't know about this, money is not a problem. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.